Talk about the subtle art of not giving a shit, giving a fuck, because I am a badass.
Combining them all.
Yeah, the last time we were in it, I think we were probably naked. Yes?
Probably. I mean...
I'm gonna fix you.
I'm gonna fix you, got me, hang on! I took moral lessons from the series that I have built into how I live my life. And then to share that with somebody and be like, yeah, fuck that book. That's no. And you're just like, all right, I guess we're gonna fucking fight now. I'm like, let. Welcome to Long Walk Short Drink, episode 72. Always 40 minutes from where we want to start. It is 8:40. Well, one computer says 8:40, the other says 8:41. It's 8:40. So we decided to just start because it just came up. Sorry about that, everyone, for the delay. Palmer's playing Bachelor this week and fell asleep. I fell asleep. I'm just going to fess up to it.
All right, that sounds nice, actually.
Yeah, I got home
love
from work.
Falling asleep like that, like
it's raining with the thunder going on right now, and like it's warm. And I took Tank for a walk, and just got back and was like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here. I had some pizza because it was Tuesday pizza yesterday, so had some pizza. I was like, I'm gonna heat some of that up. Sat down, ate my pizza. Next thing you know, my watch is buzzing because Dave's calling me, wondering where I'm at, and it is well past our start time. So this is Palmer podcasting to you from Dayton, Ohio,
and this is Dave podcasting to you from Northfield, Minnesota.
And hopefully joining us, I missed a call from him. Hopefully joining us is going to be our good buddy Double D.
Yeah, I believe so. He's send me. When I hadn't heard from you, I checked with him just to make sure he hadn't, and so he and I've been texting back and forth, and we made an agreement a while back, or he made a request. We should only text in JCVD gifts. So we've been doing that, and he just sent me one a few minutes ago that says, "I'm just getting loosened up," and it's JC dancing and kickboxer.
I tried calling him and it went straight to voicemail, so I'm wondering if he...
Ooh.
Oh, there he is!
Yes. In the house, Double D!
Hey. What's up, boys?
How's it going, buddy?
Oh, my gosh. Couldn't be better.
It's good to have you. Sorry for the delay there.
What delay? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, see? There you go. For always 40 minutes from where we want to be.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, I technically saved us, right? Like I saved us those 40. We got those 40 minutes that we actually accomplished something, hopefully, with our lives. So even if that happened to be a couple extra Z's, I've been sleeping like shit. Ash is gone, and it's amazing how much that affects you when you're like used to sleeping next to somebody, even in a big giant king size bed when you can't even feel them next to you.
Having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep.
Yeah, both. And then Tank and I got in a fight this morning.
What'd he do? Or what'd you do?
Oh, nothing. He's just like, he's been really stubborn about walking. Like he's just got, I mean, I would, if I was his age in human years that he supposedly is the equivalent of in dog years, I would not want a large, hairy thing waking me up and saying, all right, we got to go around the block as fast as possible because I'm late for work. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Go poop. Poop now. Like who could live like
Oh,
that? Nobody.
no
like
poop
that.
pressure. That's tough.
No. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was all me. It's all me. So then I felt like emotional garbage all day because I screamed at my dog, and I mean, he's just a little dog. He just wants to poop. He just needs a spot to poop. That's all he wants. Yeah. So that's why I fell asleep. There's a lot to it.
Well, you're looking refreshed and charged now, so that's
Oh yeah, I bet. Mm.
You are looking kind of cool, sporty. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Sporty
different.
It's the backwards hat. So it's
yes,
gotta be what does it. I got my rally cap on.
That's right.
I'm ready to unfuck myself and kick ass and take names.
Yes.
Talk about the
badass.
subtle art of not giving a shit, giving a fuck, because I am a badass. I have to see if I could find this Reddit post.
Combining them all.
Somebody posted in the r/books. Can we please stop naming self-help books with curse words in the title? And the top comment was somebody that took all of them, of course, and strung them together into a coherent paragraph, which is very funny.
Well, and at some point tonight, we're going to talk about Gary John Bishop's book called Unfuck Yourself, which both Palmer and Double D had recommended to me at various times, as well as to our general listeners. I finally read it, and I was looking for an excuse to try to dig into it and apply a bit better. So I was hoping to just chat about that and anything else we feel like. Obviously.
I don't know if this bodes well for the book, but all the research that I did end up needing to do to jog my memory to be able to at least address what you said we wanted to address when we talk about it. You wanted us to address when we talk about it. I could get from the Amazon page.
Oh, good.
So
I did no secondary research. Really, I just I have this process for books where I don't want to have to go back to the whole book. So sometimes I'll highlight or tag things and then go back and type those things up and put them in a document so that I can find them quicker.
Which is what you sent a picture of to us, right?
Yeah, but it's like 11 pages. It's just something like I've been meaning to do that since I finished it, just for myself. So it's nothing I'm looking to get through here. I'm mostly just interested in like how the book hit you and what stayed with you, because I realized I couldn't, like, when we've been talking leading up to this, like I don't remember anything from that book off the top of my head.
That's how I was, which again probably doesn't bode well for the book, but I can say once my memory was jogged, I was like, oh yeah, I can say that there is a part of how I try to live my life now that this book definitely inspired.
Oh, cool.
Well,
before we get into any of that, I have something fun I'd like to crack open and drink as we catch up. Do you guys as well?
Oh, yes.
I may have something.
Oh, right.
Well, Double D, looks like a legit beer bottle.
It does look like a legit beer bottle. It certainly is not.
Oh, not your father's. All right. Excellent.
So, but they did change the labeling to make it look more legit. So.
Yeah, I like the old school label.
Is that what actual type of beverage is that? I can see it's not your father's.
Oh, it's just a root beer.
Is it a root beer with? Oh, yeah, it's got like as much
5.9
alcohol as a beer. Yeah. That stuff could be very good.
Yeah.
Are Double D? Are you just not a fan of the taste of a traditional beer, or?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I never got acclimated to it. My dad was kind of very much against it. I think that kind of stemmed from some of his upbringing, that he didn't want to be like his dad or whatever that case was in regards to getting drunk, drinking, taking that out on others potentially. So he was like, stay away. Like it was like the devil, like in my house. Like we didn't have beer, really didn't talk about it. It was just an absolute no. So unlike some of my other siblings, I was like, oh, okay. And so I didn't do it. It didn't drive me to it as it may have done with some of my other siblings, but it was something that I just never got used to. And like then the first couple of times that I tried beer, I was like, this is awful. Like it's just
it really is. It, like when you really get down to the thinking of it, of what you're drinking and what the taste actually is. Like I mean, just think of some of the words people describe beer with, like yeasty. Like you know, like.
It's funny you say that because the beer that I have is the Torpedo from Sierra Nevada, and it's very tasty. But to me, it is an IPA, which the bride refers to IPAs in general as ass juice.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind is that? Ass juice? Oh no, thank you.
Yeah, I there was the longest time where I was just like, IPAs were, grapefruit peel. That's again like great descriptor. Like who wants to just run and just like pour that down their throat, right?
Yeah.
And that's what IPAs were. But I'm drinking an IPA because one morning I woke up and just had a taste for them, and I think the shandies, like the grapefruit shandies, help do that. So this is Don't Fear the Blender, which is a Clown Shoe Brewing. I've never tasted this before, so this will be a long walk short drink beer unboxing, live beer unboxing on Long Walk Short Drink. Don't Fear the Blender is what it's called, though. It's a tropical fruit smoothie IPA with guava, mango, and pineapple puree.
My goodness!
So I'm really hoping for fireworks here. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not holding out. I'm not holding my breath here. But let's crack these open and then get talking here.
Wherever you are, long walkers, grab your beverage.
Yeah, grab your beverage of choice and let's
crack or tip it to with us.
Yeah, on 3 and 3. All right.
I noticed from when I post the episodes, I usually post them around midnight or a little bit later after on the Wednesdays. We do have a certain section of people who listen right away. So perhaps they are late night owls, or maybe coffee is the drink they sip as they listen to us drone on about our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Wherever you are, cheers to.
Yeah.
It's that big Australian contingency that's listening in the morning on their way into work.
Yeah.
Or on their way home from work at that point.
I like to think that. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts right now is I'm catching up on it from like 2013. It's called How Did This Get Made? And it's the three people, Jason Mantzoukas, Paul Scheer, and June Diane Raphael. They talk about movies, kind of like bad movies, but they kind of celebrate them in a way. It's very fun. They do live shows now too, and I don't know how many. It's been going since 2013, but I'm going back and listening to the early episodes and moving forward as I've listened sporadically to the movies I've been interested in. And today they talked about Crocodile Dundee 3. Crocodile Dundee Goes to Los Angeles. So when you said Australia, that's what I thought of. I didn't even know that movie existed. I had no idea. 2001 it came out.
Does it have him in it? Like the actual? Oh, really?
Paul Hogan is in it.
Oh my gosh.
And every once in a while on How This Get Made, they get somebody involved in the production. It's pretty rare, at least in the ones I've heard. But it's very funny when they do, because oftentimes they have great stories about these productions. And the guy, I can't remember his name, who came on to talk about it, was one of the writers and told his horror stories about how Paul Hogan really, after all that time, he just wanted to get back in the limelight and be the star, the producer, the writer, and get his wife in it. And he went to arbitration and all this stuff to like fuck them out of writing credit and money. It sounds like a kind of a horrible experience that they relayed, but yeah. So he was in it and all about it, and not a very good dude about it. If this guy's to be believed, but
that's awesome.
But if you're part of that Australian contingent of long walkers, please reach out and let us know you're there.
Subscribe.
What you thought of?
Are they on the country list? Are they on the country list of?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Downloaders?
Maybe.
Yeah,
we can track all that. I try not to look because
we'll find out.
I did get an email related to the show. I'll find it. I was thinking about reading it on the show, but I forgot it existed.
Oh, I thought it was our your video has been blocked email that you were talking about.
Oh, no, someone
I got an email related to the show. We got shut down.
No, nothing like that. Thank goodness. Actually, no. Our account is in good
Episode.
standing.
Yeah.
And
Like,
we're
you're
91
definitely Kermit.
subscribers.
You are definitely Kermit. And then, who would I be? Probably Fozzie, right? He's kind of Kermit's sidekick.
Waka waka.
Waka waka. Color commentary. That's me.
Oh, here. So I found it. So this is from John, who I think is a new listener, but it actually talks about how he discovered the show, and the subject line to this email is "The Crow." What else? A mutual fan and a thank you. So he writes, this was just the end of last month. He writes, I just discovered your LWSD podcast and watched the Crow episode. The making of documentary was awesome. Using the Crow 0 pages as a format to summarize your film was brilliant. A beautiful work unto itself, and one of the coolest things I've ever seen as a die-hard Obar fan. He says, well, I'll just, some of this is not podcast related, but it's just nice things that he said to me. So the press kit is also excellent. I still have a grainy VHS copy of your film. It's Origin Forgotten, Convention or eBay, ? I rewatched it after seeing the podcast. It's so full of ambition and raw youthful energy, as good as it was when I first saw it 20 or so years ago, which is, I wish that could be like a press quote somewhere. That's a very nice thing to have heard. Some of this is just Crow stuff. This guy actually moderates and created the bibliography that appears on James Obar's Wikipedia page.
Add it to the 30-year edition that you put out. The 30-year anniversary
4K.
The 4K 30-year edition that you put out.
The back of the Blu-ray.
The ultimate bootleg edition.
Whereas Dave has just enough going on in his life that he can't be the Wikipedia page manager
for JC.
This is his this is his thing. That's awesome.
I wrote back to this guy and I told him that. I was like, it's so amazing that you created this bibliography for James Obar's Wikipedia page. I was looking at all these things. It's like we joke on the podcast that I have just enough going on not to moderate the Jean-Claude Van Damme. So wait, he just says he met Obar in 97 when he was 15 and Obar was 37, and most recently last weekend. Now that he says, now I'm the one who's 37 while Obar is 59. Feels very full circle to me. Hearing you tell your story of meeting him was emotional. He's always been so kind to me, and I'm happy you had a good experience. Yesterday, I ordered a copy of The Fear and Bullets on vinyl. John Bergen is great, in parentheses, and stumbled across our YouTube review. When the web address with your name appeared on screen, I was really excited. I looked for some additional info on you in the Crow film a few years back and came up empty. The vinyl review led me to your website and podcast and to this email. Thank you for putting so much of your experience out there. I'm looking forward to listening to more of your podcast. So shout out to John. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, John. That's awesome.
That. And hope you're hearing this.
Yeah.
If any listeners out there would like to write into us, you could do so at lwsdpod@gmail.com. And unless you tell us otherwise, perhaps we'll read it on the show too.
Yeah.
But, for those of you like John or just coming to the podcast and you want to get caught up, plan on devoting several thousand hours.
3 years, literally,
to get current.
Yeah.
That's how this goes.
Yeah.
Hope you got a lot of downtime.
I guess if you and we might have some new listeners because the Cobra Kai episode, at least on YouTube, has more views than generally our whatever the people that listen seem to be more on the podcast platform. But Cobra Kai got a little bit of traction, and we're up to 91 subscribers. We're trying to get to that 100 this year, so that we can get our unique URL. And so if you search
find out the next thing that we're going to bug you about.
That's right. Yeah.
Only 909,099 more subscribers till we get our play button.
Yeah,
Come on.
button.
Yeah. That's going to be the next drive after we get that unique URL. We can get a play button.
What does that mean? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it's like after you get so many thousand subscribers, then they'll give you like all the way up to like a Chrome or a platinum play button for like, I think it's like 100,000 subscribers or something.
So that's like the thing in the middle of your video when it's paused or something? Or?
No, they send you a physical Chrome play button.
Okay.
Like big. in a plaque that says your YouTube channel name has reached this many subscribers. And we've made billions off of your free videos that you put out for people. So we got you this $14.95. This plaque that costs $250. So.
Well, we'll work towards that. One thing at a time.
We're never gonna get it after I just shit all over them. Did you hear me just shit on Google? Even when we get it, they'll find some loophole to not give it to us now.
Well, we'll know if our live stream suddenly goes down.
I'm surprised they haven't already shut us down. That the algorithm hasn't been like, I detect somebody shitting on Google, shut them down. Like,
what cracks me up is that in our YouTube channel, like, oftentimes I'll use copyrighted music. Shit, when I use my own music, it comes up with copyright infringement because that's just what happens if it's managed by some kind of rights organization someplace. But one of our few videos that doesn't have that notification of any kind is the episode on the crow, which I just think that's so beautifully ironic that that I got legally shut down on years ago is just out there with no notice of any kind.
5 years from now, when because it's probably all caught up in the Disney merger, right? They're gonna pay some intern over the summer to just track down ways they can get money out of people.
Oh,
and it's gonna probably be some kind of copyright thing, and it's gonna ping the shit out of that episode. You're gonna finally get it. We'll get up there with no problems, nothing against our account. And that's going to be the one that's going to black mark our account.
I don't know, though. There's actually no copyright law really being broken in that one because they would have to know the comic book. There's no algorithm that can say this is an adaptation of a.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But it is pretty fast on that stuff. Last episode, I've been going back to putting in the theme songs for the segments, and I posted the episode really late at night. I finished it late at night, and I woke up the next morning to see that it had been flagged, and I was, and you can go in and see why. And sometimes you can just let whoever owns the thing monetize it, or you can remove a section or whatever. So, but what it was the King Corner. It was the Who Made Who song.
Yeah.
I let it go just a little too long to where it caught it had never done that before in that song. So I went through, made sure to get out before the chorus, and now it's fine.
Yep.
It's interesting the way that works.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Enough about copyright bullshit. Double D, we haven't heard from you in a while on the show. How have you been? What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. I've been staying busy for sure. Getting ready for some time off. My beautiful bride is heckling me from the couch. So yeah, exactly. But no, things have been going very well. I got some really, really great news recently. As far as my kind of my side gig, I got a pretty substantial promotion, which has been a lot of fun and very exciting to deal with. And
you don't want to tell? You can't tell us what that is? Is that secret?
I'm trying to. I don't know that it's really all that secretive per se. I think that's kind of in some of the conversations that we've had before about seeing me on TV. The opportunity for me to be seen on TV substantially more has presented itself. So that's
during the fall.
Awesome.
During the fall on weekends.
Yeah. On weekends.
Yeah. So
Saturdays, right? Saturdays.
How will we know you? We be wearing something special that we can identify you? Some pattern.
I'll stand out. I will definitely stand out. It's a unique. It's definitely a unique outfit that I'll be in. So
very monochromatic. The colors.
Yeah. I would say.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun.
We're giving you tons of clues, Long Walkers. This is a bit.
If you haven't caught on yet, even if I told you straight out, you still wouldn't get it. That's about how much we've just divulged.
Double D plays a zebra on TV.
Yeah,
on Saturday afternoons.
Yeah.
He's the ass part of the zebra.
If you listen to 99%,
Did you hear? He
yeah.
promotion. He's the head now. Like,
Oh yes, he doesn't take it in the back anymore.
yeah, no,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Unlike your brother.
Yes.
Or like your brother, I should say.
yeah.
I'm surprised he's not chiming in on chat yet. But actually, I think that came up in the Cobra Kai 2 episode. That seems to find its way into
Take
most
it in
of
the
the
back. Yeah.
episodes.
Well, congratulations. That is was some very exciting news.
Yes.
Does that mean you possibly be out my neck of the woods? As,
I will be. Yeah, I think it'd be like within an hour or so from you at times. So if that's, I know that's not something that you get all too excited about, but maybe that might be something you and the bride would like to venture out of the house on a.
I think I might have been in one of the spaces that you would occupy for the first time for a completely unrelated reason than you would be there. I was inside and with a very interesting view. I was there for a conference.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah, and it was I realized like I'd never been here, and I thought, wow, this is really something to see. And then I remembered your promotion, and so very, very exciting all around. That's how long you been doing this job to get to where you are?
Let's see, about 27 years.
Whoa,
So, 27, 28 years
in a row.
In a row. Oh man,
a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. What are you looking at?
Yeah,
Get back here.
That is so very cool.
Yeah, that has been a lot of fun. And then we've got a little bit of a break from work here coming up, so I'm going to take a little furlough for a little bit of time. So enjoy the summer. Excellent. And so
you got your pool? Is your pool up and running?
Oh, thank the Lord, the pool is up and running. Yes.
Oh,
that debacle. We had the heater on. It's 78 degrees today. We're in it today. It is. Good. Oh my gosh, it is glorious. It's crystal clear, sparkling water. It is so fantastic. So yeah,
I'm gonna swim in the pool this summer. I'm swimming.
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes, yeah. The last time we were in it, I think we were probably naked. Yes,
probably. I mean, I try to be naked in your pool when I can be. I'm sure I was. Have I? I don't think I've swam in the pool, the new pool, since you updated it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it didn't get updated until.
Holy shit!
Time's
up.
Fuck!
Hit the deck.
Alarms are ringing.
Somebody's got to punch in the numbers. That's what that is. Get the numbers in quick. Before we bring down another fucking plane.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's just
We're just gonna sit here. We're just gonna sit here and ride it out. I'm gonna prove to you. Do I got Jack eyes? When I do that?
You did. I was like, does Jack say that and lost?
We're just gonna sit here.
Yeah. Locke's gonna do it.
It's really uncanny.
You're trying to shake them out of your head. That's the key to Jack. Good Jack eyes.
Yeah.
We've got to go back.
I'm gonna fix you. I can't really do it.
I'm gonna fix you. Got me. Hang on.
You know what I always think of is
shit.
What show is it? Is it Jimmy Kimmel that they do unnecessary beeping?
Oh yeah, yes.
And they did that, and it was an all lost edition, and that one was obviously they made it sound like
you. I'm gonna fuck you.
I'll tweet that out with the show. I want to see that again.
Oh man.
I've been doing a lot of cleaning around the house, kind of like cleaning out areas where we've just stored shit and our dryer died, and so the laundry room has been a place where I've been spending some time. And funnily enough, the bride, who often rails against my collection of media, has 2 bags of VHSs that are barely labeled of her own. That she's not wanting to throw out without having me check on what's on them first. And so we had them for years, and I haven't done it, but I use one of the VCRs that I have for cleaning mold off other tapes and stuff. I got a little station now, so I'll just put it in and hit fast forward, and it's so interesting to see like what's on these tapes, basically like shows she used to watch, like, and one of them is Lost, and I see these episodes of Lost on fast forward, and I don't think of Lost as a show that like I miss or want to rewatch, but I gotta say, when seeing it like buzz through, it like, I don't know, it kind of made me want to revisit that program.
It was awesome to go through it with Ash. Like,
that's right. Yeah, you did that recently,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I relatively. I mean, what the show was done, you know, it was over with, and I'd moved beyond it. And but I kept referencing it, so we went through it, and it was great. And it really helped me. Again, double D philosophy, because I knew what was happening. Then I knew where to focus on the stuff that like I had missed or wanted to really re-see my second time through, and it gave me a better appreciation. And I already appreciated the finale, but it gave me a better appreciation for the finale even. So I would totally recommend going through that again. Although I believe every year it's probably going to feel more and more dated. Like,
I think that I would like to go, if I were to go through it, I would want to go through it with somebody who likes it and enjoys it, and can kind of help me through some of those parts, because boy, I just had a very difficult time getting through it. And I think it's probably because, I don't know, analytical mind or too sciencey or something along those lines. But I had a hard time removing myself from the science behind it, of the smoke monster or the polar bears. That, yeah. Spoiler alert for those of you who are not caught
we are
up.
Going to get. That's it. We're back down to 89 subscribers, and we got 2 emails, and both of them are bitching at us.
I just spoiled Lost. Sorry, which isn't true, because if they listened to last episode, you already talked about the finale. But anyway, I just didn't get in. I just had a hard time trying to stay in that entertainment mindset. And I think that if you know the spoilers, and that helps. Okay, so I know where it's ending, so that helps. But going through it with somebody that really enjoyed it, somebody that knows it, I think that would probably help me enjoy it a little bit better, and could get into just the fun of it more than like looking for all these answers. The answers are coming. No, they're not. They're absolutely not coming. Just like, don't tease that out. Just let it be.
And as much as they did, I found those things to be very unsatisfying. Like whatever it was that Titus Welliver and the other guy, like when they got to showing what some of the stuff supposedly came from, I did not want to know. After I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not as good as what the mystery would have been.
And I think that's one of the messages the show is tries to get you to. Like, that's a lesson it just beat into your head over and over and over again. The questions are always going to be more interesting than their answers.
Right, but then don't say the answers are coming. Don't say, oh, you know, they're just like dangling this carrot that just.
Well, that's how they get you to watch next week. Like when,
or say there's no answers. See what questions.
Or 3 months from now, when it, because they left you on a cliffhanger, they want you. It's just that's. Yeah, I know. I get it, but.
Did you both watch it while it was in its initial run, like from the beginning, or did you have to catch up at some point?
I caught up to see, like, I binged season 1 when season 2 was. No, I binged season 1 halfway through season 2, so then I had to wait until season 2 came out on DVD to binge that right before season 3 started, and then I was live season 3 forward.
Yeah. What about you, Double D? I think you said, but
I was pretty much live, kind of through it. Like I went through season 1, I think, live. Season 2, I may have been a couple behind, and that's, I think, when we had like Netflix, the DVD album.
You
could get Netflix DVDs. So I kind of was hit and miss a little bit in season 2, and then I caught up on season 2, and then pretty much stayed current all the way throughout. Nice. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't remember where I jumped in, but I definitely had to catch up a couple seasons on DVD first. Double D, I heard from Palmer that you finished another great saga recently.
Oh my gosh, yes, I did. I finished the saga of To End All Sagas, which I know everybody, like all the Star Wars fans, are freaking out, but come on, there's Star Wars 1, 2, and 3.
We take issue
So
with
that's
episode 72 when
Yeah.
Double D calls the Dark Tower
Yeah.
the saga to end all sagas, because I think we all know that is not true. That's not fucking true. And
okay, if
jihad is on you. Sorry.
if you're gonna take that as the saga, like, so the Dark Tower series it's 7 books, and actually even more, right? I mean, I haven't
because there's went through the keyhole.
right, so I haven't and which I haven't picked up yet, so that'll probably be the next thing that I jump onto. But those 7 books, I mean, it spans, I don't even know because I did it on audio, but it spans.
I have a whole shelf that's just like the shelf
several,
is full of just those books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So several thousands and thousands of pages. And it's, it was, I found it, I mean, it sounds crazy. I found it extremely listenable, to the point where as I was waiting to get the next book in the series, I would go back and listen to the same book again.
How many times did you listen to the first one before I got you to move on to the second one?
Okay, so that's the problem. Is
yeah, that's right.
I started
with 2.
Yeah, I started with 2. So I was taking Palmer's advice and going from book 2 to book 3 to book 1 to book 4. And I got done with book 2 and I was like, wow, like this is spectacular. He's like, oh, well then he goes, just go through it. Like just go back to 1. And I think, I don't know. I think maybe in the conversation that Palmer and I had, I think I might have even said, but I probably went through book 2 3 times or so, and then I jumped back to book 1.
Amazing.
And then listened to that, maybe 3 or 4 times. And then on my way to 3, I listened to book 2 again once
a
or
couple
twice.
times. Yeah.
So, and it got to the point where like there was a chapter in book 2 that I listened to. I probably listened to it 20 times. It's just absolutely, I just was just enthralled. Like oh my gosh.
You can spoil it. You can talk because he'll by the time he gets to it, he's going to binge the whole thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask, should I do start with book 2 as well and do that order, you think, since I didn't do 1 when it came up in the running order of my Stephen King chronology?
If you're going to listen to the series, like if you are going to listen to the series, I liked 1 through, I just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I thought that was awesome.
I think since he updated, because there's the updated and revised edition of the Gunslinger makes it much more palatable, I feel like, with the rest of the series, as opposed to the original version of the Gunslinger. When he would give that advice, it was like juxtaposed against the rest of the series. Have you listened to the original version though?
I don't know that I have. No, I think the only one that I listened to was Goodell. Is that who was the first one? Or okay.
George Goodell. So there is a Frank Muller reading. There's actually even an earlier Stephen King reading of the Gunslinger.
I don't know that I could listen to Stephen King read a whole book.
If you want to listen to Went Through the Keyhole, you will. Because he he just like does this nasal click when he like with some of his stuff, and like Andy Clunderbuck, like
it's pretty good. Yeah.
I
not do it. I have a coworker that kind of has the same thing with L's.
Yeah,
it reminds me of that. But
so
look at the
boy. I would just I think that if you know that you're going to go through it, which the completest that you are, and looking at that series, I would just go 1 through 7. I like the fact that that 1 starts you off in this Western, just a flat out Western, and it is just rich and outstanding. It sets it up to be this kind of a just this raw gun-toting gunslinger. It's called the Gunslinger, and so you're set up for this just this old Western, guns and horses, and then it starts down this path of, wait, this is not just a Western. Whereas if you come in book 2, you come into this sci-fi. You think like you're in this sci-fi novel.
Fantasy, even. I wouldn't even say I would say total fantasy. You know,
Yeah.
there are the premise of 2 is him looking for freestanding doors on a beach that literally take him to other worlds, like they're like
other time,
like and not other worlds, into the minds of people in those other worlds, and like that's and I'm not, there's no metaphor in there, like that is literally what he is doing, is racing up a beach looking for these freestanding doors so that he can draw these people in that's supposed to help him with his quest.
Right. But again, like if you have the setup of book 1, and I think that the reason why they should start with 2 is because it is a little slow, or it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it. Just kind of coming into it raw without any basis of, you know, who is this guy? But it's just like any other book, and it's I think it's great because it doesn't start out with a lot of exposition. It's not just like, you know, oh, here's the backstory to this. Oh, this guy's, and it's just, you just like pop down in this guy's pocket who's in the middle of an adventure, and you just have to catch up with what's going on by looking around and experiencing it as he is. You don't get any backstory. You don't get any forest. It's just, you are part
the
of
the first sentence is all like, it's referred to in the series multiple times, like how, well, in interviews with Stephen King, where he's like, it's the best opening sentence he believes that he ever wrote for any of his books.
Right.
And because it sets everything up and gives you all the exposition that you need. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. And that's how the adventure starts. Like that. And like, in
that's
that
2?
No, that's book 1. That's the first,
that's book 1.
Those are the first words of the first book of this, like,
the saga,
4,500 page saga.
And the man in black is right.
Or is it?
Or is he? I mean, but it is. Yeah, he is.
Okay, good. That's appealing.
Jeez.
That's why, dude. That's why I can't help it.
Come on.
Spoilers abound.
Gosh.
All right, so
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was in question. I thought that was a foregone conclusion. I'm sorry.
He still won't know if he's or not.
Oh, okay. So there is a shadow of a doubt thread through all this.
I mean, listen, I feel like it is amazing. So what will be amazing is go through the Dark Tower series before you go through Lost again. Because going through the Dark Tower series is going to make you very hungry for more Stephen King. And it is mind-blowing how much liberty they took with Stephen King's universe in Lost. Like, it's
how they kind of borrow from things.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. And
wow.
I mean, they literally have a character, the Man in Black. Like that's one of their characters' names.
Right.
Like,
that's right.
There's I know I've said this on other episodes. In On Writing, he does a visualization exercise with you, where he's like, I want you to picture a table, and on that table there's a cage, and inside the cage is a rabbit, and painted on the side of the rabbit is an 8. And in an episode of Lost, when he's like exposing the second island to Kate, I think it's Kate, he pulls a rabbit out of his bag that he had just showed die earlier that had an 8 on its side. And that, like, you know, like, and they were not shy to say how big of Stephen King fans they were. There was a point that J.J. Abrams was attached. He was supposed to do the adaptation, the film adaptation, which if he would have done that, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I think, though, so right now, Amazon is ramping up production of a Game of Thrones style show that's supposed to be the Dark Tower series.
Oh, wow.
I
know you kind of beat this up last time, but I want them to do it right, but I don't want it to be so overblown. Like, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
explosive. It doesn't have to be like movie set. It doesn't have to be that, 18 feature-length films per season. Like, there is so much that they could do with just, like the cardboard prop buildings that's, in the desert somewhere, and just be okay with letting the story be the show.
It is this. It's 4,500 pages of them walking. That's really what's happening.
Oh, so it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's them trying to get to this destination, being the Dark Tower. And the whole metaphor is that the journey is way more important than the ending, like the destination. The journey is always the better part. And so I agree with you. There should be whole episodes where it's essentially just them on the road, like walking. You know what I mean? Like just going through and building that. I want to see that tension and that those pieces that we don't get to hear about in the book. I mean, I'm thinking just in 2 alone, there's so much relationship building that has to happen for you to get to book 3 that we kind of just assume happens. I'm really trying not to spoil a lot. I have to say though, just to cycle back to the show, there was an announcement that blurbed across my Reddit. I try not to follow this stuff, especially, and I tried not to follow a lot with the movie, that atrocious adaptation that existed of the movie. I just like that. I'm trying not to follow too much. I don't want to get my hopes up because but they announced that Michael Rooker has signed on to be a part of this Dark Tower series, but they have not announced what character he's playing. But then seeing him and imagining him as Roland would be a great Roland. I could see the potential for him to be a great Roland.
That's the Gunslinger.
Like yeah. And his voice isn't right, but I think the nice thing about Roland is he doesn't talk very much.
He's got that kind of husky voice, which in some ways,
yeah.
I guess, you know what? Yeah, it's weird. I was like, I think that sounds like Clint Eastwood, but then as I hear Clint Eastwood's voice in my head a little bit more clearly, especially from that 60s era Sergio Leone thing, it wasn't husky like that. It is now, as he's like super old, but
I like though. I feel like Michael Rooker is he's an honorary long walk actor because he's my first experience with him is Mallrats, but he's been in this periphery, this character actor that's been in the periphery of amazing stuff that's impacted me. Most recently being the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, that his performance just was so endearing and just totally blew me away. That for a character that they didn't spend any time talking about, that Quinn and I forget his character's name relationship, they just touched on it. I don't know. They did a great job though of still getting you right in the feels with him.
Fucking A.
Great job.
Rooker's definitely a long walk short drink actor.
Yeah.
I mean, like a beloved actor of the show, especially if you consider some of the things he's been involved in. Not the least of which he's in a 2-hander with Jean-Claude Van Damme called Replicant.
Oh,
actually, I don't know if that's a 3-hander. Because there's
that's it.
Yondo. Thank you, Double D. Replicant is
Mary Poppins, y'all. That's all I could think of. Like,
he in Replicant he plays a cop, and Jean-Claude Van Damme for the 3rd time in his career plays twins or of some sort.
I think he was just trying to get people okay with the idea that the world needs more Jean-Claude. Like,
oh man, I could so get it because like I just got that Double Impact deluxe DVD, which is the first time he played twins. I'm all up in it right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let me just tell you a little bit about this gem. So this is from the MVD Rewind collection. And they do these wonderful, genre movies, and they do the like Be Kind Rewind stickers and all that shit. And they make a point of making it look like the VHS from the time. The special features on this are voluminous. You got a 4K scan of the movie, I think. Is that right? Well, maybe not. Anyway, it looks beautiful. I don't know if it's 4K. they have I don't know why it's 2 parts. It's essentially 2 hours of black silk underwear. Yes. Sorry, Moto chimed in with a quote from the movie, which was, so these 2 twins separated at birth. You can see this on the YouTube. One, Chad, is raised in so their parents are gunned down in Hong Kong when they're babies, and then one is raised in Hong Kong on the streets and orphanages, and the other in Hollywood by their honorary uncle. So Alex is the one who is like a hard ass. He grows up on the streets of Hong Kong, and then Chad is the guy that grew up in California and is a very kind of quote unquote soft guy. So I learned a little bit, and then they don't know of each other's existence until their mid-20s, and then they team up to avenge their parents' death. Double D, you look puzzled.
So no, I'm just saying it's a lot like the Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Or
exactly like
it is twins.
Twins, yeah.
It's twins. But we're Jean-Claude is Arnold and Danny DeVito. Like that's
yeah.
Outstanding.
Oh, it's magic. It's magical. But it's directed by Sheldon Lettich, who just prior to that, the year before, had made Lionheart, which is a great Van Damme movie. But Sheldon Lettich also wrote Bloodsport, which is the movie that helped Van Damme kind of have a career.
I'd like to make a motion that in the future, all references to Jean-Claude Van Damme twin movies will be from now on referred to as his one-man shows.
One-man shows.
Yeah.
Okay, I second that motion.
Yeah,
I was gonna say JCV Double D, but
oh,
that's all right too. Yeah, I like the one-man show.
I don't know. That's tough. I like that.
You don't want to give up Double D. You don't want to share Double D.
No.
That's
true.
no. Yeah.
But if
like
I was
that.
going to, it would definitely be
with JCV Double
Bless
D.
you.
Yeah.
So, for any JC fans that listen or watch, I'll give you a little review of this Blu-ray and some things I learned from it. So, the making of stuff is substantial in that there's 2 hours of making of documentary. For some reason, they separate it into 2 parts. But what's unique to this one that hasn't really happened before
Let's
is
go out to the lobby. Let's go out to the lobby. Let's go out to the lobby and get ourselves a treat. They wanted an intermission in there. That's why it's 2 parts.
oh, perhaps.
Yeah.
I can't figure out a reason. There's no logical reason watching it other than they just didn't want it to be 2 hours in a row.
in a row.
In a row.
Or maybe it's a
Is
double
it as
thing.
painful as Gone with the Wind? Because I totally
No.
understand why there's an intermission in that one. Like,
You ruined
go
that for him.
out and realize that there's good in the world. Like take 10 minutes and remember that there's awesomeness out there before you have to come back for the misery of another 3 hours remaining of Gone with the Wind.
This is much more voluntary. You watch it or you don't, whether or not you want to.
Fuck that movie. That's all I gotta say. Classic schmassic. Burn every fucking copy. All negatives, everything that we have of it. Like,
and fuck Crease.
fuck Crease. Yeah.
Seriously though, fuck him.
Seriously. Fuck him right in his ass. Like,
the 2 hours. Sorry.
Right here you go.
Oh, the
There you
yes.
go. Oh yes.
Palmer's for new listeners or viewers. Those Palmer's Cobra Kai season 2 notes.
Don't steal those. Those are mine. My notes.
So the 2-part documentary thing is nice because actually it features extensive comments from Van Damme himself, which is very rare. Like new comment, like all of the people seem to have set up cameras in their own house and they're talking right into the lens. And JC participated a little bit in the Lionheart version, or like similar release from the same company, but he says very little. So I was super excited that he was going to be part of the
What do you want
DVD.
me to say? I mean, I'm going into the room.
Yeah,
I'm getting the thing.
good.
The movie's good. Fuck you. I mean,
that's the Rooker movie. That's Replicant.
yeah, just
And that
just-
commentary,
I what do you want me to say?
that commentary is half Michael Rooker. They're not in the same room together, and the other half is Van Damme. And
Do
Van
they
Damme is
splice them together like they are in the same room together?
no. They kind of acknowledge that. You can tell, but I kind of think that they did it because Van Damme couldn't do the whole thing himself because I don't think he understood the format. He kept
Yeah.
signing off.
Yeah.
He was just like, gonna see
All
more
right,
action
Jean-Claude.
coming up on Replican. Yeah. So stupid. And at some point, yeah, he just gets exasperated. He's like, the fuck you want me to say? Movie's good. I'm here with my friends.
What's the one? Is it the Boogie Nights commentary where he couldn't get everybody at the same time to do a commentary? So he went around and let them decide how they, and so Mark Wahlberg decided they wanted to drink. And so but it's one commentary that cycles through all of these different commentaries that the director recorded. So he sounds consistent through the whole commentary, but the actors change who he's talking with throughout the movie. But every time it cycles back to him and Mark Wahlberg talking, they are just plastered. Just fucking is that the...
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard that commentary. I'm very interested now, though.
There is some commentary like that, and Mark Wahlberg is, I'm pretty sure, is in the movie where they just drink in the commentary, and so they by the end of the commentary they're just fucking like slurry. They are Swayze. They are Swayze. Like they were texting out the pictures. Like when you watch the commentary, your phone goes off and it's that picture on your phone, and you're like, I get it now. Like
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I gotta hear that. And in this Double Impact thing, there's no commentary, but there is that long, basically just interviews. And JC contributes a lot, which is really nice. He's a super humble person at this point. But so some interesting tidbits. There's also some period like from 1991 behind the scenes footage and interviews and stuff, which is nice. And there's like 50 some minutes of extended / deleted scenes that I have to admit I really wanted in there to be the extended like fantasy love scene, because I always heard JC said that like the European cut was crazy. If that was in there, they didn't include it, but there is a lot of like fun stuff for a super fan like myself. Just a few tidbits for like Moto and other JCVD fans listening. So the Chad and Alex thing, Alex takes his name from the son of the person that Van Damme took his surname Van Damme for. I couldn't relate to you the whole story. It's on the documentary, but like Jean-Claude Van Damme's real name is Jean-Claude Van Varenberg. And when he went to become an actor in America, he took this last name Van Damme from this guy from, I think from Hong Kong, whose son is named Alex Van Damme. So he's actually named after that character. Chad is named or sort of modeled in some ways after Chad McQueen, who is Dutch in Karate Kid. He's Steve McQueen's son. He has blonde hair in the Karate Kid. He's not yet showed up in Cobra Kai. He's supposedly in jail in the storyline. I had no idea of this till I watched this Blu-ray stuff.
Who the fuck is Dutch?
I think you'll know him to see him. He's the one who says to Daniel, like, "You're dead meat." Yeah, and he does the head thing. That's right. Yeah. So that's Steve McQueen's son, Chad McQueen, and I guess Van Damme and him like hung out a lot in California, like in Hollywood around the time that this movie was being developed, and in some ways, like he kind of modeled the character after him. Not then like he's a soft black silk underwear wearing guy. I don't know exactly what it was, but he mentions that in the behind the scenes. And then I guess the last thing that was, I think, worth mentioning is that I don't remember what year it was. It's been in the last 10 to 15 years, certainly after Van Damme's like prime theatrical like run and all this. He's bipolar. He knows he's bipolar. It's publicly known that he's bipolar. And he kind of talks about that in the making of this movie as being like, you know, he's like, that's kind of just something that's a part of me. And so something about like these two sides of me, like he doesn't say it very articulately. The director and writer Sheldon Lettich. So Sheldon Lettich and Van Damme wrote the movie together, but Van Damme
wrote this one-man show.
One-man show, yes.
Yeah.
It's written for Van Damme, like, because they'd been working together a lot. They just made Lionheart together, did Bloodsport. They went on to do a couple other movies together. But Sheldon Lettich wrote it for Van Damme and these two sides kind of his
Yeah.
personality. So I don't know. I thought that was all kind of interesting, and it's been a really fun jaunt down memory lane for JC and me. The second installment or whatever. And just because I have him sitting here, just to give him shout outs, he's had 2 new movies, The Bouncer and We Die Young, come out in 2019. They're both pretty solid, like, genre pieces. In both, he's in this like sad old man period of his career.
Yeah.
Like he just sort of plays downtrodden guys that are drawn and have to fight, but they're not like, it's nothing like they do fight but I don't know, it's hard to explain. Sad old man maybe is not appealing as a selling point, but that is the kind of characteristic, I would say. But these are actually both pretty decent. If you're a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan, there's a few of his more recent movies in the last few years I haven't seen.
He's following Clint Eastwood's arc of career.
Yeah, or maybe like Charles Bronson, but less successfully, or less sort of empowered. Like, these are not especially empowered characters. They persevere, but and he's got that sort of perma scowl that he wears. But anyway, little Jean-Claude Van Damme there. Oh goodness, all over the place. Expect nothing less, but surprised even myself.
If we're talking about movies, I really got to recommend.
You've watched the.
I definitely have to recommend Bad Times at El Royale. I think that's what the name of it is.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that. I didn't say so in the text thread, but I saw that as well and thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, right. Okay, so I just need somebody else to confirm for me then 2 things. Do you remember the monologue that I'm talking about, that I'm referring to? Like when he's eating pie with the singer, and he finally he's confessing to her about his Alzheimer's, and every other shot, you see, that's why I know it's that fucking good. Every other shot, there's nobody else speaks into the camera at any other point in the movie, not even his character. And even in this scene, she is shot over his shoulder. He is shot from her perspective. And so when he does this confessional, because she's our proxy in the movie, she is literally the person that has no stake to be at that hotel. She just happened to stay there, happenstance. So she represents us in the movie, right? That's why when he's talking to her, it's from her perspective. So he's talking right into the camera. It's heartbreaking. I mean, because you see him forget himself during the speech. Like, that's you know what I mean? Like, and his eyes well up and just like, gut wrenching. So that monologue right there is worth it. If you are a Jeff Bridges fan, which if you've ever seen The Big Lebowski, you are.
Tron.
or Tron, or Starman, or like any. I thought about. Have you seen Starman?
I didn't. One of I saw it recently.
Performances ever. It's so good.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot, and it was hard to find when I went to watch it. My actually, Moto and my mom, our mom, loved that movie when we were kids, and I think it was on TV a lot. But I didn't remember it like as an adult. And so when I was a few years ago, when I was going through John Carpenter's movies, that was one of them. And I don't remember how I got a hold of it. It might have been, I don't remember how I got a hold of it.
John Carpenter movie? No wonder I love it. Like,
yeah, it was. And it has, it has Lois Lane in it, I think, from the Superman movies, if I'm not mistaken.
Lois Lane, or is it the woman from Indiana Jones?
It's Indiana Jones.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, that woman.
I get them confused. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I actually only saw it as an adult so many years ago, and I really enjoyed it.
And his character is very charming for the rest of the movie also, but that monologue is enough to get it. And then if that's not enough, Chris Hemsworth has this show-stopping performance. I mean, just robs the like 2 or 3 scenes he's in, he steals them. Like, who he is, like, this like. He's a perfect Thor, but Thor is just kind of like this like doof of a character, and so he was in that new Ghostbusters, the new version of the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, kind of
like Thor in that, like
dim-witted.
But in this one, he's a character. He plays a really good like I imagine like a Charlie Manson type character.
Yes. Yes.
Kind of just a sick hippie and
Cult leader. Yeah.
cult leader that really, when he talks, it sounds like from Caddyshack, Bill Murray.
Oh,
from
Bill Murray's character. Yeah.
Bill Murray from Caddyshack when he talks.
Yes.
But it
Yeah.
has this like sinister thing undertone to it that just like, but he steals the show. He's so like, you can't not look away from him and ever like, he totally nails the character. That movie was fucking good. I don't know how it didn't make it was, I felt like it was original. It had like all these great people in it. Ensemble cast. I don't know how it didn't blow up last year. I
think I heard good things about it. I watched it with the bride. It came out late last year, and so I haven't seen it since then. And just for anyone listening who might not have seen it yet or know what it is, the one sentence synopsis from IMDb is: circa 1969, several strangers, most with a secret to bury, meet by chance at Lake Tahoe's El Royale, a rundown hotel with a dark past. Over the course of one night, everyone will show their true colors before everything goes to hell.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Drew Goddard, who was one of the main writers for Lost.
Oh,
funnily enough.
No wonder then. Like when I fell in love with the trailer and didn't get to see it in the theater, and then it's in HBO right now. So
okay.
If you have the HBO app, you can see it in the movies section. But it blew me away. It's long. I feel like it
it is. I have it right up here. 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Yeah.
It felt to me in some ways like like it could have come out in the mid to late 90s. Like it had that kind of vibe of like a Pulp Fiction sort of thing.
There's a lot of Quentin Tarantino nods to Quentin Tarantino's style of storytelling. The title cards, because it cuts away to a title card every time it gives you a background story. It felt like a Tarantino movie.
It did, yeah. And it feels like cool, like that kind of mid-90s Tarantino like vibe.
Really good soundtrack, really good use of music as a character in the movie. Every character you kind of get, as soon as you fall in love with them, then you turn around and not fall in love with them so that you can fall in love with them again. And
there's a crime caper sort of aspect to it in various respects, both like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs.
Yep.
Not to like diminish its originality, but it's like both familiar and original at the same time, which is really.
And it starts with this really awesome stark. You can tell it is a stage setting, with Nick Offerman, which is like a one-man play, that is awesome. It's like great movie. Check it out.
Yeah,
Jesus,
in that. Yeah. No, that's cool. I was glad to see that you were so excited about that, and I remembered it.
But definitely the watch for the Jeff Bridges monologue, and then any scene that Chris Hemsworth is in, because this was the movie where I was like, oh, I get why they gave him Thor, and I get why they keep casting this guy, because he is a phenomenal fucking actor. I could not believe that I was taking him so seriously after watching him be Thor all the time.
There's something, I don't know if it's just his look too reminded me of Brad Pitt-esque. I don't know if it's because of the
Ken doll lines,
the Ken doll business, or the
so that he shows off.
His hair was like kind of long but dirty, and he had the goatee. Like it's kind of like mid-90s Brad Pitt as well, which I'm always on board for.
I'm on board for it right now. Just
speaking of that, just a tease. I did get the audiobook for Fight Club, and I'm surprised at how short it is. And so I will be listening to that at some point. And
I like that audiobook. That's a good one.
I've never read the book.
I can't remember who the reader is.
One I recognize.
Yeah. So Chuck Palahniuk did a follow-up to Fight Club that it came out a few years ago. In comics. Like it would revisits the Tyler Durden character.
Oh, is it just comics? I thought when I was looking for it in the library, it was coming up. So maybe that's interesting.
I think it is just comics. Yeah. It was this like one-off run of like catching up with Tyler Durden. And if I remember the synopsis right, like he has a kid with Marla Singer, and
Oh,
he's
really?
kind of like falling out of grace with Project Mayhem. They don't really take him seriously anymore because he like still ended up doing all the things he kind of like was preaching against, like there's a different take to the Tyler Durden narrator character and a little more militant, if I remember right in the book. The movie gets all the good beats though. Like I think the movie is a much, and I think you told me this, but that movie is compared to as an adaptation that might follow the book too closely. But there are
I don't know. I don't know that. I have no knowledge of the book at all, actually.
Yeah.
So that might have come from somewhere else. This will be my first interaction with the book.
Yeah. So, well, just it's a great fucking book. My favorite one of his though is it's the Ballad of Buster Casey, I think is the subtitle, but it's
Choke. I only know Choke and Invisible Monsters.
Choke is really good. But it's his sci-fi one. It's a time travel one. Chuck.
Oh,
not Rant.
Rant. Yeah, Rant. Yeah. In that one, the audiobook is amazing because it's unabridged, but it's read by a full cast because the whole book takes place in interviews. Like it's like police interviews. So it's all these characters are like answering questions. And so the audiobook, all those characters have a different narrator as they're giving their interviews. And so because they're recanting their experiences with this main character, Rant, who is the that's his nickname, and his Buster Casey is his real name. And it's all of them interviewing what they know about this person. And so the audiobook, it's one of those that I would recommend the audiobook over the real book for sure. Because it just jumps, it'll just go, all of a sudden you'll hear one person talking, and then the next person will pick up the story they were telling about Rant, but it'll be a different voice telling it from a different perspective. It's really an interesting book for sure, but audiobook definitely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, should we transition to our book of
Absolutely.
the night?
And I think I should shut up and let Double D, because since he's the one that introduced Unfuck Yourself through this, that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Double D set it up for us.
Well, I mean, I think that's if you go to, is it audibletrial.com /
LWSD.
LSW
LWSD pod.
Get it right.
I still question it.
I think that this was something that this was one of the books that I got from the Audible, and
Awesome.
found that yeah, found that it was. I mean, I first off, it's terrific. It's read by the author, which is spectacular because he's a Scottish born author. And he has just the most spectacular Scottish accent throughout the whole reading. So it's Gary John Bishop who writes it and reads it and performs it. I won't say performs it. He reads it. So there's not a whole lot of performance involved, but it's not that kind of a story either. It's not like it's a story. It's more just, it's a self-help book. But it's got it's 3.5 hours to listen to, which is short book. It's got some pretty basics. It's
just Long Walk Short Drink episodes longer than that.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're gonna have to throw out that unwritten rule of we can't discuss longer
right,
than the actual movie or book actually is to read. Which could be a challenge at a mere 3.5 hours. But it's just, I don't know. It was something that was a lot of fun to listen to. Just with the accent and just, I don't know, pretty common sense, heavy hitting stuff that's just made a lot of sense to me, and it seemed to be pretty simple, pretty easy to kind of grab onto. I don't know. I've probably listened to it, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 times.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just, and again, it's with it being 3.5 hours, it's a short listen. And it's, I don't know, it's just kind of nice to hear some of those things. And although the title of the book is Unfuck Yourself, I think there's, I don't know, half a dozen swear words in the book, in the entirety. So
Yeah.
it's not something where they just use that, profanity to I don't know.
I called so in my the reason I really I said in a text message that I watched The Bad Times at El Royale instead of reviewing Unfuck Yourself last night. That's really because I couldn't. I still have a hold request out for the audiobook for me to have revisited it. And I know if I would have go and just I almost went to Barnes & Noble and bought a copy today just so I couldn't. And I'm like, you'll never go through it. Like you'll never crack it open. Why would you do that? So I'm still waiting for the audiobook so I can go through it again. But I have to pull a George R.R. Martin on you like he did on Stephen King. I have to ask, where the fuck do you find time to listen to this? Like, you listen to our podcast 3 or 4 times per episode. You listen to Unfuck Yourself 8 or 9 times. You listen to the first 4. Like, I know it wasn't until Dark Tower 6 before you went to the next one with only listening once. Like all the ones before that you listened to multiple times before you moved on to the next one. Where do you find? I mean, I have a dog that takes 45 minutes to go around the block one time. One block, one time, 45 minutes. That's when I can listen to an audiobook. 15 minutes sometimes in the car. Other than that, I mean, my audiobook listening has drastically decreased because I don't have a commute anymore. You are way more motivated, way more active. You have a bajillion kids. Where do you find time to listen to your audio stuff? Because that's, if I understand it right, I mean, I am internalizing this, so correct me. But when I listen to something, it's a very personal thing. It's a personal time. I have headphones in. I'm doing a task that I can zone out on so that I can focus on listening. Where do you find, when are you doing the bulk of your listening to get through this stuff all the times that you do?
So if typically just in the car, like on my road trips or whatever, I'll have an audiobook on, or I'll be listening to something that's an audiobook. So for the 3rd or 4th time or whatever it is, I do have, in the fall especially, I have a lot more time to travel, or my trips are a little bit further, or quite a bit longer, so I have the opportunity to really kind of get into it. So that's kind of nice. I cannot multitask. My just got a big confirmation noise from peanut gallery. So he's still giving it to me. Anyway, so it's one of those things where I don't know. It's funny that I don't know. I guess it's weird because that I think about it, that I do listen to, or that I'm able to listen to it over and over again, because I can't do 2 things at once. Like I can't be typing an email or doing work and listening to an audiobook. Absolutely.
I can't either. No. Not happening. I'm not capable.
Yeah.
Anything outside of driving, I just need to either be listening or not listening.
Yeah.
Like that's all there is to it. But my car trips, I'm pretty much listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, I think that's I just am. I'm not commuting to Columbus every day like I was before.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I just can't consume as much as it just astounds me at how you're able to crank so much in, and it's, I mean, I know it's because you spend a lot of time in the car. That's when I always did it. So
well, and the repeat listens is very interesting,
because
that's similar but different, and I think that's something kind of unique to you in this regard, Double D, is the listening to these long form things on repeat. Because I love to my thing is I love to go through things sequentially, and I'll take my time and all that, but I don't usually do so more than once in a short span of time. And I feel like Palmer has a great ability to move quickly through a lot of different things, if anything, in terms of if we're really differentiate the three of us.
That's if I don't absorb it, I'll go through it again. But a lot of times it's like,
which you're also super good at absorbing things, I feel like, and being able to explain or say this. I'm terrible at regurgitating things.
Yeah,
or processing them at all.
And that's because I'm so good. I want to do that so that I can get on to the next thing. Because I lose in. I mean, I'm very fickle. I will admit that. It takes a lot to hold my interest. I mean, the Harry Potter series, Dark Tower series, those are really the only books that I've gone through multiple times.
Oh, yes. I shouldn't have discounted that. Your annual listen of the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
And yes, I forgot about that.
So yeah. But it just is, it blows me away, Double D, because I also know it's not like casual listening. You will send me text messages of great quotes that that you happen to hear on the multiple times, or the reason Double D is a No Long Walk Short Drink cast member is he sent me a text message after Long Walk Short Drink was maybe episode 8. He's like, just so you know, I'm making an archive list of all the pop culture and media things that you reference. And I'm like, why would you do that? Well, because you guys talk about a lot of awesome stuff that I haven't experienced and I want to experience. So I thought, since I'm listening anyways, I'm just keeping track of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I thought that was really awesome. He's going to write down every time we reference a movie, or I'm like, good luck, man. Because we talk about a lot of shit all over the place. And then
explain it.
Yeah. And then I don't know, so many episodes in, he's like, I'm going to send you what I have so far. And it's like a 42-page Word document, single spaced of all these literally a movie episode number, book episode number, song episode number, all this crazy stuff, all these different references to media that we reference or talk about, and it just listed out in this thing. I'm like, this is outrageous.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't really understand it myself so much, in the fact that I like movies, but I'm usually kind of a one-time through a movie, unless it's something that for whatever reason we just watch over and go again with the kids.
You never finished House, by the way. I mean, you
never, and I'm never going to. We'll just get that out of the way right now. I almost said when you were talking about discussing that tonight, Long Walk Short Drink remembers. I was like, I'm not remembering that. I
watched it. I did watch it. Ash even had to sit through the ending of it.
Oh my gosh, that poor woman.
So terrible. It's such a bad movie. I'm watching it. I'm like, I can understand why a 10-year-old would be afraid of this. I can understand why. I mean, because that movie stuck with me too. There's some really creepy stuff. The mirror thing really freaked me out as a kid. Where
don't know what you're talking about. Don't care to.
Oh yeah.
Nope. I saw a house that had a beating heart at some point, and I was done.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
It's so funny. It's just outrageously hilarious to me. Also, the other thing that was outrageously funny to me with Double D. So if anybody doesn't know, this will be a good reason to retweet out the Splash Mountain. I had to look over. Right, it hangs on my office wall anytime, so I can look over the 5x7 print I have of it. I had a little Splash Mountain revenge with Double D, because he was towards the end of the Dark Tower series, and I don't even know what he said, but he's just like, if this is how it ends, so fucking help me God. And I'm just letting you know, I played a Long Kong the entire time. That's exactly how it's going to go down. And then I tweeted, I text him the Splash Mountain picture, and I'm like, remember, And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get my payback. He's like, so fucking help me. But then but part of that stemmed from I was really worried that you were not a lot of people. The ending of the Dark Tower series is very polarizing for fans. So I was worried that you were gonna get there and be like, this is fucking bullshit. But luckily you were like me. You were like, that's the most it is the most perfect way to end it. Like I can't think of a better, more poignant way.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So
Like the rest of the fucking series.
Oh, of course, yeah, the whole series. A lot to look forward to there, Dave.
Yeah, if nothing else, like if you guys don't do your mini series, when I get into it, I'm trying to figure out the best place to jump in and stay in.
Let's do the book club again. Let's do.
Yeah, we should. Whenever we do talk about it, Double D should be here, of course. If you guys don't do your own separate thing first.
Yeah. The problem is, I mean, your book club is going to be. I mean, this is a monster. That'd be a monster undertaking.
Oh,
good.
But Lord. I also think that it would really. I mean, we would get a following on that one. I mean, we did. What did we do? Dead Zone before, right?
Oh,
we would. It's gonna break. We would pull in Dark Tower fans on that.
Yeah,
I think we could do like one book an episode. Well, even if we just rolled it into our normal episodes, like how we focus on things and just start from the get-go and get into it.
Like, I mean, that would literally have to be all we talked about. We couldn't.
So you'd have to start a stopwatch. Like it would have to be.
And you'd have to, and you'd have to say we are ending at this time, especially the last 3 books, because each one of those is like it
doesn't.
The 5th book I think is over 500 pages. The 6th book is around 700, and the last one's over 1,000. Like just those last are like the bulk of the series, you know, because he's. Oh God. And that second one is just a fucking chase the entire time. Like, so good. Like, oh man, Jesus God. It's such a great fucking series. And like, it's one of those series where I have, that's the one I can say that's one thing my dad and I bonded on. And why I got into Stephen King was because my dad talked about the Dark Tower series. Dark Tower, Dark Tower, Dark Tower. I can remember when the 4th one, Wizard and Glass, came out, and he's like, that's all I want. Don't get me anything else, because it came out, the paperback came out around Christmas. He's like, I don't want anything else. I just want that on paperback. And he got it, and I can remember him being so, like, a grown man being excited, like, who I had never seen pick up a book and read, being like, excited that he had this finally. And man, that 4th one, wow.
Is that your favorite too?
No, my favorite is the 5th one, but the 4th book is one of the best audiobooks ever recorded, in my opinion. It's a very subtle distinction, but it's when you go through it, you'll understand how I make that distinction.
And Double D, do you have a favorite?
Man, oh my gosh. I don't know that I could say I have a favorite. I have so many favorite parts in each of the books. There are oh my gosh. No, I don't have a favorite.
That's fair enough. I have a lot of trouble with favorites. Not that I think people shouldn't have them. I just have trouble coming up with them myself. So
yeah. I could probably do like a top 10 of favorite scenes.
Oh yeah.
Man, oh man. Like I said, the one scene I've listened to 20 times if I listen to it once. And could listen to it another 20, like without even thinking about it.
Is it a major spoiler if you talk about the scene? I'm just
I mean, it's
enough that maybe I can at least figure out what you're talking about. I know we talked about it before.
Well, it's book 2, and it's towards the end. It's and we haven't really.
The 3rd door. Are you talking about?
Yeah. Of course.
Man, yeah. That.
So
it's brilliant. It's such. Like you realize how much of a genius Roland is in that 3rd door.
Oh yeah.
how he can create a plan on the fly, and how it really, as a reader, you're just like, just fucking trust him. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
even though you don't like it all the time, he knows what he's doing. Like,
You just get so drawn into this world, into this man, into this gunslinger, that you just, oh man, it's just it's Roland on the pages, but it's you as Roland. Like, it's just,
and I think that's part of the reason how you're able. I said this to Double D multiple times as he would go through it, because he would just call me and he's like, man, I'm listening. This is like the fourth time I'm going through this. And he's like, it's so good. It's so good. And we would just talk about that piece. And I would say it multiple times. Like, you're not supposed to like Roland. Like, he's an asshole. Like, he's a dick, and you've known from the first book, you can't trust this guy. Like, he's got his own fucking motives, and those will always come above everything else. And that's why the first book is so grueling for that, like,
man, but it's not, because there's anyway, we're not, this is we're on the wrong book series.
Like, as you get through it, you start to really not hate Roland, and then you start to like question yourself, like, no, I should hate this. I should still hate this fucking guy. Like, oh man, I don't know. It's one of those things that you can't just recommend it to a person. You can't just be like, even if they're like, oh, I'm a Stephen King fan. Oh, you should read The Dark Tower. Like, there are definite Stephen King fans who are not Dark Tower fans.
I've heard that from other sources too.
Yeah.
That whole idea.
But it's one of those things where it's just like, I have slowly peppered this series where I get to know a person enough, and I'm like, oh, you should really read this series of books, because I think you'd really dig it. So I've done that with Stan the Man. He went through the series. We could have Stan the Man on for that.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Like, do a big panel discussion.
That'd be awesome.
Another buddy of mine, he went through the series. I know Double D, and oh man, it just warmed my heart. It's one of those things where if you like it so much that you're kind of guarded when you recommend it to somebody. Like, you want them to, if they don't like it as much as you do, it's really going to hurt you, like, because you're going to you could see getting defensive about them not liking it as much. I have already gotten defensive. Even there's a guy in my office who he found out, like, he asked about my tattoo, and I was like, oh, that's from a series of books I really like. And he's like, oh, what series? I read all the time. I'm like, oh, the Dark Tower series. He's like, oh, you like that? And I'm just like, oh, we're gonna fucking fight. Like, here we go. Like, I'm ready to fight you. I've never read a book. There is a point in the series that, even in the limited amount of time that Ash has been in my life, that when I do my annual, because I missed it last year, I'm kind of stalling already this year. I'm still on book 2. But before then, when I would get to this point in the series, Ash would be like, oh, is this happening now? And I'd be like, yeah. And
Wow.
she's like, do you need to talk? And she's never even read the series. Like, she did, like, because she doesn't care about spoilers. So I've spoiled the shit out of that series for her. Just because you got to talk about it. It's one of the, like, and I that's the other piece that I told Double D. I was like, throughout the series, you're going to hit points where you're going to need to, like, bounce shit off of somebody. I don't care what time it is. I don't care what's going on. When that happens and you need to talk, because I wished that I had that person when I was going through it for the first time, just call me and we can talk it through. So
Yeah, to give you an idea, the Dark Tower one is the shortest of the books. It's about 7.5 hours. Dark Tower 2, book 2 is just under 13 hours. And that's probably the one that I listened to the most. I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times on that one. The Dark Tower book 3 is 18 plus hours. Let's see, book 4
24, I think.
is 27.5 hours.
Yeah, I knew it was over a day.
Book 5, let's see here. Sorry.
My favorite. This is
book 5 is at 26.5 hours.
Yeah.
God.
And they're only going to get longer.
Well, book 6 is a little bit shorter. It's just over 14 hours.
Oh, really?
It's a mere 14, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
last one is atrocious.
The Resistance is just about 29 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my God.
It's a substantial investment, of course, but it's one of those things though where as you're listening, like, oh man, it's just
you make excuses to listen to it outside of when you're just when your normal listening time is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you get wrapped up in the story, you make excuses to put your headphones in. I think it's a great series to make a case for audiobooks. It's a great series to make a case for Stephen King. It's a great series to make a case for genre melding. They even acknowledge that in the book. So the series, once you get past book 3, it gets a little meta. It's very like they make like these very meta discussions and references and all that stuff, but they talk about genre at one point later in the series. And because Roland, the main character, at times will be he becomes our proxy, where we're learning through him. We're learning about our world through him. Where they're talking about stories, because stories are a big part in his world, and they're talking about stories in our world and how each one is typically like, there's horror, there's drama, there's comedy, and he says, he's like, so all your stories are only one flavor at a time. And they're really talking about the Dark Tower series because it's Western, it's fantasy, it's science fiction, it's like drama, it's all those things together. And he's like, so most of your stories are only one flavor at a time. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, does nobody eat stew where you come from? Like, so, which is, it is, you can't peg it down into one genre. That first book is definitely a Western. I think the 5th book is definitely a Western. The 4th one is for sure.
I'd say first and the 4th, yeah. But even so, it's the other piece that I think is kind of exciting is it's a series, and but it doesn't, like, they don't typically just wrap up all nice and neat. Like at the end of each book. It's not like it's something like, oh yeah, that's a nice breaking point. It's just like out of nowhere, it just stops, and you're like, what just happened? Like, you can't do that. And Palmer was saying, yeah, that's all well and good, and okay, you're all pissed off, but you can start this tomorrow. I was like, no, I can't start tomorrow. I'm going to listen to another 3 or 4 times. And he said, well, but you can start it tomorrow. He goes, imagine if you were reading these as they came out.
Yeah.
And you had to wait another 7 years for the next installment.
For the like the resolution to the cliffhanger.
Right. And it's not even
book 3 literally ends in the middle of a climax. Like, the whole book gets you there. the whole book is building up to this thing, and you get 3 pages of it that you've been getting. Like, the whole book's leading you there. You get 3 pages, and he's like, and you'll have to wait till the next one. And that happened in the 80s, and the resolution didn't come until the 90s. Like, so.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at his library right now, and it looks like Dawning of 3, August 1991, The Wasteland.
The Wastelands, yeah.
And then the next one looks to be Holy shit, Wizard and Glass in 1997, so like 6 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it, unlike, but see, the cool thing about it is unlike Lost, in my opinion, there's resolve. Like, there's everything makes sense. Like, you just have to go with it, that the questions that you have will be answered. And it's, whether you like the answers or not, that's up, whatever, that's to each his own, but you will get answers. And it's not something where he just completely leaves you hanging and is like, whoa, wait, but that was never addressed. Yeah, it was addressed. It's okay to be confused, and it's okay to go through some confusion for extended periods of time, even entire books, and then you'll get brought back into the loop. It's
oh Jesus, because Wizard and Glass, that fourth one, you literally do not know what's going on until the last 100 pages of that book. I feel you're just, there's so much thrown at you. It's such like, it's a complete deviation from the series because it's a flashback. The whole book is a flashback. Right. It's this giant cast of characters that only one of them, essentially, like all the rest of all the rest of them are new. And it is, the whole book reads like a chess game. And I'm not making that, again, this isn't like, that's not a metaphor. Like they keep playing this, they call it castles, but it's their version of chess. And they keep referencing this game of castles that's going on while the book is progressing. So, and if you know anything about chess, like typically it doesn't get interesting until the end, like the last 15 moves. That's where everything gets exciting.
Right. There's a move here or there. There's a piece. There's, you take a bishop and you're like, oh, he took a bishop.
Yeah.
A lot of it is like, okay, angle. And then, they took a bishop.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, but that's just a bishop. And then they get back into the strategy and the angle. And that's what that book is. And it's, there's just enough of taking a bishop here.
Yeah.
They lose the rook here.
But you really don't know what's actually playing out until the last 100 pages. And you're like, I mean, just mind. Oh, fuck that. God damn, I love that series.
Oh my gosh. And it's just so.
I would get another tattoo right now just based on time. Like, I would get another Dark Tower tattoo. That's how fucking great it is. God.
He doesn't pull any punches. I mean, there is.
Yeah. Well, which he never does. Like, so in any of Stephen King's book, he doesn't. That's how he gets you. I think that's why he's so popular, is because he writes from a perspective that he writes from a human perspective. He doesn't, yes, he uses great vocabulary, but that vocabulary is tied to the characters. So if it's an intelligent character, he's going to surround that character with intelligent words. If it's a blue collar character, it's going to read like blue collar writing, like, oh man, just awesome. Just a fucking phenomenal series. And I think that's going to be a great way to ensure that we get that conversation. Maybe we should off mic try to, when Dave is ready to get in there, maybe he can be the proxy, and then
that's what I was thinking. Like,
him through it.
How many books are we talking about? Like you said, hours.
7. Oh,
I don't think I read or listen to 7 books in an entire year. All said and done. So, what do you guys think though of, like, I'll do one at a time, but as I get through them, then we convene for a conversation that will be like a bonus episode for the Long Walk Short Drink podcast. So it'll be off weeks or something, because it won't happen all that often. But that you guys will have the overview, and we could even come up with something if you really need to, like, talk about stuff that I could, mute. I could mute or something like that and come back on for. But it might be interesting then for people. I could be the proxy for those that are going through it a book at a time, and then you can kind of be the voice of those who've gone through it all together. And it'll just be fun.
I mean, Double D, I did all right. I didn't spoil anything for you, right? Like, my only regret was suggesting you start with 2, because then I had you turn right around and go to 1.
But that wasn't a big deal. I mean, it doesn't ruin the series by any stretch of the imagination. And it just kind of. It just kind of actually set it up that maybe if you're going to do book 2, you read book 2 and then read 1 and then go back through book a few times if you want. That's what I would suggest.
I'm all for all of that. My suggestion would be, though, is would need to be a little diligent about revisiting prior conversations, because that's what I really envisioned doing with Double D with the conversations we had started. Was I wanted to get what he thought was going to happen so that we could tie back to that after those resolutions happened. So I would want there to be, if we do that, I would just want there to be some ability that we could cycle back to prior conversations while we were talking, because there are payoffs there.
I think that I would love to see. I think that it should. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know that it has to be formal. What I like in hindsight, if I had my druthers, every time I called you, we should have just hit record on
MP3,
something like. And I think that would be pretty clutch. I think that would be the way to do it. Is because, and as you're going through, like, if you're anything like me, as you're going through, you're going to be like, I've got to dump this. Like, I've got to download this. I've got to get this off my. I've got to figure out what this is in regards to, or I can't believe that mother. Like, that's no way. And just being able to get that emotion and that raw energy and feeling as you're going through it, because you can be so invested in it, that it just really kind of takes you over, and you stop and you think, there's no way. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. And then just being able to be like, that can't happen that way. Like, that was like, did I read that right? And you're like, you read that right. And you're like, no way. And then you can just, like, you spiral into these conversations. And as long as you have a muzzle on Palmer, I think that.
Listen, I did not spoil.
You did very well. You did very well. But again,
because
every time you were like, has this? Oh wait,
I'm really good about. Okay, wait, has this happened?
Yes.
Yet? Like, tell me the last thing that happened, because that would always get me into where in the series he was at, so I knew where not to talk about. But there were some planned Stephen King style foreshadowings where I would drop a pseudo spoiler. Like it was just like, but you're gonna have to read on to get that, there's one in there where there's one in this at some point in the series where it's just like, but they would never revisit that conversation because the next time they would have the chance to, death would pass between them. And you're just like, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
yes. Like, and that's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's that.
Is it going to be 3 pages or 300 before that pays off? You don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know. Like, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
I'm coming up. So right now I'm listening to Christine, and so I broke chronology a couple times for things like It, which comes up pretty soon thereafter. I think maybe after Christine, I'll make that my next Stephen King book, and so I'll listen to it, and then we can kind of start to fold this whole thing in.
Are you going to go 1 to 7 though? Or are you?
No, I don't think I. Well, actually, yes, maybe. But even if I do, that will take me a long time. So I think
I understand that, but I do suggest listening. If you try to listen to it in the chronology, it's just not going to have the same. There is something to going through it, just going through it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I'd be up for that. As I'm looking at his chronology, it seems like a good place to break away. Because I've read, so like Christine, it goes Christine, The Talisman, which I've never heard of and know nothing about. Psycho the Werewolf, which I have read, it's short. After that comes It, which I have read. Eyes of the Dragon, which I've never heard of. And The Dawning of Three comes next.
Drawing of Three, yeah.
Drawing of Three. And then Misery, Tommy Knockers, Dark Half. Like, those would take me probably a year to do Misery, Tommy Knockers, and Dark Half. So I don't think I should. So it feels like a pretty good time.
Yeah,
to,
I would just whenever you start it, I would just do the series and get it over with.
If you're gonna break it up, I would probably do 1, 2, and then you could take a break. Do 3, 4, and then take a break. But then you're in it. I mean, and then
because 5, 6, and 7 literally are one book.
Yeah, there's no real.
The last page of 5 leads to the first page of 6. The last page of 6 leads to the first page of 7.
Yeah. If anything, I feel like I feel ripped off because of that, because there's so much more. There's still so much more.
There's time. Yeah, there is time in between there. Yeah.
So, yeah, 3 rolls right into 4 as well.
Yeah, and you're splitting it up. That's a good split up, just because there are breaks. That's when the breaks happen.
Yeah,
and between 2 and 3, and then 4 and 5, there's a break in their journey that we don't know about, and that's where Wind Through the Keyhole fits in.
Gotcha.
And I still say Wind Through the Keyhole is okay to cycle back to. I don't think don't shoehorn that in, because it's just off. It doesn't fit in with the it's not a progress to. It doesn't advance them to the Dark Tower. It is really just a glimpse at like one of those days that are
like a side
on the road. Yeah, that are on the road that we didn't get a chance to see. That's what it is, like on their journey that we just weren't a part of. So here's one of those days that you wish you knew about. Here it is. So because it takes place in between 4 and 5. And the gap in between 4 and 5.
So, well, this is very enticing. So I think I think after Christine, I might squeeze in Fight Club quick.
Are you liking Christine?
Yeah, I'm liking Christine. I had seen the movie.
I love that one first,
actually. When I did John Carpenter a few years ago. So it feels reminiscent of that, but definitely like really drawn out and expanded based on just the events of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm excited. You guys got me jazzed for this, and it feels like it's coming in a good place in my own kind of Stephen King experience. And just listening to you guys kind of geek out about it without talking about it specifically, it's like, I want to be a part of this, whatever this is.
Yeah.
And just have these conversations with you guys.
So, and again, like there's Stephen King fans, and then there's Dark Tower fans in that circle, and Dark Tower fans are like, I'm in the Dark Tower subreddit, and there are so many times where people will be like, I'm on book 3 and I just need to know, and like, before I even get a chance to write the comment, the top comment will be like, get the fuck off of this subreddit and go finish the series. And when you're done, come back. Like, you're going to get spoiled. You're going to that is probably my only other recommendation is like, you're going to want to know, like Lost, like, what the fuck is going on? What does this mean? I need to know what happens.
Yeah.
And this is a series that came out 10 years, like it finished 10, 15 years ago. You'll be able to find that information in 30 seconds with your supercomputer that can fit in your pocket. Right. Just let the books stand on their own. Avoid all of that temptation. Yeah. Get through the books one time, and I can't stress this enough. When you get through them the first time, what I'm saying now will make sense. Just let the books be their own thing first, once. And then after that first time, you'll want to do it again. I guarantee that. Then go do all the extra stuff while you're doing it.
Wow. Yeah,
it's not like, even with the potentially polarizing ending, if you choose to do that.
Because there's a choice. You have a choice,
right? So even with that, like, there's no real, like, it sounds weird. It's because it's kind of weird to say, as we've talked for the last 38 minutes on our 40-minute journey here of not spoiling it. Like, there's really, I don't know. There's really nothing in the sense that you'd want to have spoiled. It's it's not like there's, I mean, it's its own story, and you are pulled into this world, and you're living a part of it. And it's, you know, you don't really, the only spoiler would be with the potential of the very last 12 pages.
Well, of course,
Like,
that's what I'm trying to like.
there's so many stories leading up to it.
I know,
Even
but
if
that's
you were
the
talking
ultimate
about that,
payoff. That's the
right,
but
but
that's
even,
the piece that makes it all worth it.
okay, but what I'm thinking is, even if you were to get into every little nuance of it up until that last 12
Yeah.
pages, I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that ruining any part of that adventure.
Yeah.
Because you still are going to be, well, how did they get to that resolution? Or how did they get to that resolve? You're still going to have to journey through it to get to that piece. Like,
Yeah.
I really can't even think of,
And
again,
if I do all that, will I finally be a gunslinger boy? I don't
Yeah.
know, Pear.
yeah.
God's love be on you, boy. Like,
It's just, there's just, but even that, like,
every time I look to my left, you should be there, Pear. I got it.
do you want to throw, we can throw lines back all day.
Oh my God. Like,
It's coming, but yeah.
Like, I can tell you right now. So we're about to lead up to a break before we talk about Unfuck Yourself.
We've already started that.
I'm just gonna tell you right now. I have pulled more lessons that I have applied to my life from the Dark Tower series than I did from the actual self-help book Unfuck Yourself.
Whoa.
I'm not trying to shit on Unfuck Yourself, but there are things, moral lessons, that I'm not trying to say King is a moral educator. I'm just telling you, there's stuff that spoke to me in that series that I tried to apply to my actual way I live, more so from that series than I did any of the self-help books I've read or gone through.
Wow, that's awesome.
If a man can't share his vices, then he can't afford to have them. Like, that's, I used to say that when people would be like, "Oh, you got a cigarette to bum?" If I can't afford to bum one, like to share this with you, then I shouldn't be smoking myself. Like, and I didn't even know I got that from Dark Tower until one of my, like, the third or fourth time I was through it, and I was like, that's where I heard that from. Like, you know, like, yeah. So, fuck, god damn, I love that series. Jesus Christ.
You guys sold me on it. I'm ready now, I think.
Nothing was more, I have to tell you, Double D, like, nothing brought tears to my eyes quick. A lot of things bring tears to my eyes quickly. But one of the things would be getting text messages from you that's like, thank you for, like, sharing this with me. Like that, like, just to know that somebody related to it the same way that I just think it's impactful. I try not to oversell it. It's really hard for me to do that, though, because it means so much to me. And just, god damn, is it good storytelling, even with all of its flaws. That's the other piece too. You read, so then you go outside of yourself and you start looking at other people, like how other people see it. And even the most, like, harshest critics are like, yeah, it's still a good story. And the things they critique, you're like, yeah, I totally get that. I understand what they're talking about. And I still fucking love it. You know, like it like, it's not a perfect love. I get that. But it's just, god damn, it affects me the same way movies do, listening to this series. Like, it moves me emotionally. And it's one of the only series of books that does that.
I was talking about it to some other people, and like you said, you know, do you recommend it or don't you recommend it? And it is that's a question. That's a big question where, you know, how many books have you read that you've absolutely loved that you're like, oh, I wonder if I would recommend that to somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's not the case. Like if you read a book that you love, you're like, oh my gosh, you got to check this out. You know, oh, I love this book. This is great. You got to check it out. You got to read it. You got to. And your first instinct is like, oh man, wow, this is a tough choice. Am I going to recommend this? For one, like you're asking somebody to invest a week's worth of listening. I mean, just a massive amount of time to this endeavor, and you don't come by it lightly. You have a vested interest in the characters. Now you're worried about like, okay, well, what if this person doesn't like it? Like now what am I going to do? How do I react with this person? Or how do I deal with this person? And okay, yeah, we'll just let bygones be bygones, or differences be different. We can agree to disagree, but that's bull. You can't like you got to be a part of this. Like you got to,
especially if it gets you down to your core, like where I'm saying like morally, I took moral lessons from the series that I realize in retrospect I have built into how I live my life, and then to share that with somebody and be like, yeah, that's no. And you're just like, all right, I guess we're gonna fucking fight now. Like let's yeah, it's just you can't just give it to anybody. There's just a lot of like fucking hard stuff in it, but just it's all worth it. Like all of that pain pays off, and not like it pays off with pleasure. It just like there is a purpose to that pain. And I don't know. It's a series of books that strikes me in no other way that anything else that I've read, and I've read a lot, has ever struck me. And I know that it's not for everybody. But the people it's for, if you like, once you know that type of person, and you'd be like, oh, you got to check this out because you like this. Like, it's so rewarding then to share it with people who you know are going to appreciate it. And then it gives you one more person to talk to about it. Like I literally, my motivation for sharing it with people is so that I can build a network of people that like, all right, so I'm thinking that I got this Dark Tower theory. I need to bounce this off of somebody. And I've done that with everybody that I've recommended who has gone through the series. Like I know I've done that with Double D. I've done that with Stan the Man. I've done that with my other buddy that I got to go through the series. And you just want to bounce those theories off. So yeah, I'm building my network up of Dark Tower fans so that I have go-to people that I can talk about with it. Because if you get hooked, you want that. You want that ability. It is very talkable, debatable. I mean, my stance changes every time I go through it. Like I change my mind on things every time I go through. Things that I'm just like, once I get through the end, I'm like, yeah, that definitely means that. And then my life moves on and I listen to it again. And I'm like, no, that doesn't fucking mean that at all. It means this. Yep, it definitely means that, you know? And then till the next time I listen to it, I hear something new every time.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm excited. This has been a great I don't know if we call it a commercial or what, but my pump is primed. I have to pee.
I have to pee too, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about Unfuck Yourself. Why don't we take a piss? We've talked about that. We're going to talk about Unfuck Yourself. I'm willing. I want to bet that I bet you our conversation on Unfuck Yourself is shorter than the conversation we had about Dark Tower. Yeah. And all three of us have read Unfuck Yourself. So I don't know what's going to happen. So.
Well, mostly this has been an excuse. So, I brought it up because I wanted to engage with the text, but this show has allowed me to do that. So maybe I will just kind of I'll prompt you guys with kind of selfish questions that will get me what I'm hoping to get without necessarily needing to add my 2 cents, because I mostly just want to hear about your guys' experience.
Yeah. And
so it doesn't have to be long.
And we want to hear about yours though too. So
I have a few things. Like, I made that long document, but there's like a handful of things from the long document that I starred. They're like, oh, this is particularly good, short, and pertinent to our podcast.
I mean, my viewpoint is not about Unfuck Yourself. It's about all the self-help books I've read. Is a lot of them are like they're all about, if you approach a self-help book, this is my experience, you need to approach a self-help book as just it gives you justification. Like, I'm not the only one that thinks this way. Yeah. But a lot of them fall short on the like action piece. And Unfuck Yourself is touchy because it tells you like,
wait, let's not spoil it. I want to get this on, because I'm going to cut all this out. But I like that. That's exactly where I'm hoping to come from it. Like, not necessarily talk about all the points, but more talk about how this whole thing is related to. Because I'm interested in your guys' experience for very particular reasons. And Palmer, you're starting to get at the reason I'm interested. Pick your particular brain about it. So let's quickly.
We got 3 people watching. Don't fucking go anywhere.
Right. I'm solve all your problems when we come back.
We're gonna unfuck you. We're gonna unfuck you by fucking you.
Are you ready to get unfucked?
Are you ready to get unfucked? And by the way, you flash a piece on the lanes, I'm gonna grab it from your hands and stick it up your ass and pull the trigger until it says click.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Okay.
Jesus. That's right. Nobody fucks with the Jesus. All right, so let's take 10, and then we'll talk Unfuck Yourself and wrap this up.
And the one thing is, it's kind of not funny, but funny is, like, I go in like twice a year to the office, which is an hour away, and I have to be there at 8 a.m.
No,
a little early, but my amazing wife was like, "Don't stop talking too late." I was like, "You clearly don't understand what the show."
Yeah, also it's not me. It's the other 2. I'll endeavor to make this relatively short. Like I said, I've engaged with this because of this opportunity. I spent the time that I wanted to spend with the book, but I think one of the harder things for me, well, it's not necessarily hard for me in all respects, but something I mentioned, I like a lot of what this book posits, the way that it posits it. It's not necessarily revolutionary information. None of this stuff tends to be that way. It's just some way to latch on to universal truths that help it to stick a little bit more than it has previously. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this with the 2 of you is because I have...
Oh, wait.
I'm interested how... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The Palmer's back. Do you want to...
I was kind of like easing into it. But,
I didn't want to have that not count.
No, I was thinking this would count. I was just asking Double D if he had to get up early, and he does.
Okay, well we can do that. I mean, it's a short book. Let's do this in a half an hour. Can we do this in a half an hour?
I think let's
do anything in half an hour.
Well, 40 minutes.
It takes 40 minutes. We can do this in 40 minutes. It takes 40 minutes to get to where we're going. So
I'm gonna set a timer for half an hour.
Yeah, baby.
I think that that totally strikes on what I was alluding to before we went on break, was that I feel like any of the self-help books that I have gone through in my adult life, since I have made that even a goal of mine is to go through self-help books, is
Yeah, like last year you tried to do a number, right?
yeah, like a certain amount, and that didn't work. And
Because though of this point, right? Like you got to a certain
yeah,
number
and it was really like all they really are is affirmation. You they're confirming something you already know. I find myself a lot through the books being like, oh, I'm not the only one who thinks that way. Like, all right, okay, you know, and the action piece still, and that's where I feel like the message of this book comes in, is where it's like you just get out of your head and start doing, and that piece has to come from you. There's no book that's going to tell you how to do it, because how you do it is very personal.
Yeah, and I think for me, like I read the book, I liked it, and it had this lead up to me from hearing about it from Double D a little bit, and then when you went through your so many books that year, this ended up being the one that you brought to like your favorite things of that year.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I should I'm interested in it. I should give it a look see or whatever. The subtle art of not giving a fuck, like I picked that one up and I was like, I don't know. I literally said to myself, I'm like, I'm too sensitive for this. I don't want this. So I put it back. And I don't know. I picked this one up. I'm not sure. I don't remember the statement that led me like out of the store with it, but I do know. So just to kind of give a general overview, the book is called Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop, subtitled Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life. And it's organized around these 7 personal assertions that we can read as maybe a little bit of a guidepost. I don't think we'll need it though. But I wanted to tell you guys like why I wanted to talk about it with you, and then basically just use this time selfishly to pick your brains. So one of the things that really caught me in the introduction, it says this is a quote. I like quotes. It says these pages are dedicated to those who experience that self-defeating monologue, the endless stream of doubt and subterfuge that limits and taints everyday life. That caught me. That's something I'm having trouble with. I don't think I've had trouble with it my whole life, but it's become a problem for me recently. And so that was a bit of a hook. And then so he says, well, also there's other thing comes right towards the end. And he says, like, you can become a personal development drone. You know, tons of cool shit, but it's made little or no difference in the trajectory of your life. And I was starting to notice that. Like, I've been working on a lot of things as I've been discovering these problems as I've aged or getting older. And I don't know, I've just been having a harder time being a person, like living life without too much like of a heavy heart or whatever. So I'm working on it, and I do better sometimes than others. And so I've been looking for these tools to help me. I've gone to therapy. I got to a certain point of that. I stopped. I had like realized recently I needed to go back. and when among my first sessions back, I was like, fuck, like I thought I worked through these things. Like I worked my way out of that going there, because I was going bi-weekly, and then I went monthly, and then after a couple months of that, I'm like, I think I'm doing okay. I think I came here to have tools and a sounding board to kind of better manage a few things. I felt like I was better managing them, and then took a couple months off, and now I'm back, and it's like I realize it is some of the same core issues it comes back to. Anyway, so but I did notice that I was able to make headway on some things as I applied myself to them and had some time and space to like work through them. And I found reading this book that there were a few things in the way that like it got at it that were helpful to me in terms of like I could latch on to this. But as I mentioned before, like I couldn't tell you a couple days ago what some of the core tenets of this book were. And almost some of the ways that some of the few that I remembered came from like realizing like, oh, Double D kind of has used that language, or he's embodied this principle. and he seems to be doing like okay, at least in those moments. So like, or at least anyway. So that's why I wanted to talk about it with you guys. So let me that's kind of where I'm coming from, and some of what I wanted to get at or out of this conversation, because I feel too like he says something like at the end of the book too that don't just read this, think about it, and then go out in your life and do the same shit over and over. Apply it.
Yeah.
And basically saying like the only thing separating you from the life that you want is action. And there's also this interesting dichotomy of the things you think, but then this distinction between you're not what you think and what you do. So
on the here's a great quote. You are not your thoughts. You are your actions. You are what you do. And your actions are the only thing separating you from where you are and where you want to be.
Right.
Page 214 of the book.
Yeah. I remember Double D saying that you're not what you think, you're what you do. I think in the episode 50, maybe, where we're talking to Moto, possibly.
Yeah.
So Double D, you were the first one to kind of talk about this. What drew you to this book?
Well, again, I think it was just something where I think at some point in time, everybody kind of feels like you need maybe a little self-help. And for whatever reason, and I took some notes, and I think one of the big pieces is everyone has their problems. Like chapter 4, the I got this chapter or whatever. He says that we only see the highlight reels of others' lives while we're constantly reminded about the behind the scenes of our own. And the behind the scenes of your own lives are the fights you get in with your spouse, are the money issues that you have, are the job concerns that you have, are the stresses that come up, or the losses that you have, the personal losses, or you're going through all of that stuff. And that's what you live with, and that's what you're living in. And yeah, there's positives, and yeah, there's good things that happen too. But when you look outside, all you see is everybody else's highlight reel. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know that I mean, at some point in time, I would think everybody has to start to question, like, why is my life so screwed up, or what am I doing wrong? Even though everybody else's lives, they're all doing the same thing. It's just that you're only seeing the good things. When you just think about it, like how many times a day do you ask somebody like, hey, how's it going? And 95% of the time or higher, what is the answer? It's, oh, it's great. Great.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
These are awesome.
Couldn't be better. Really? Couldn't be better. Like, it could be going really well, and it could still be better. So I don't know. And again, I had this amazing free Audible trial subscription.
Audibletrial.com/LWSD.
Thank you. That I was trying to pull something from it, and it's 3.5 hours. It was a short read, or a short listen, if you will. And it just, I don't know why, it just kind of spoke to me, and it was UNFU K yourself. Which, and I think that Palmer earlier in the episode was talking about all the self-help books that have swear words in them and all that good stuff, and how that's just some way to kind of pull you in. But it pulled me in, and then I started listening to it, and oh my gosh, I don't know, are we gonna get flagged if we listen to like a 15-second?
No, I don't think so.
No.
All right, so let's take a look. So, and if this doesn't draw you in, like, I don't know, I just thought this was like 6 minutes into the reading here. So
I won't ask you to tell yourself you're a tiger as a way to unleash your inner animal. Firstly, you're not a tiger. And secondly, well, you're not a tiger.
So and I don't know.
That's the first clip I've heard, actually. I read it as the book, and oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. So you're listening to the Scotsman, and he's like, if you're easily offended, just stop now. He's like, are you gifted to somebody who's willing to to buckle down and go through it? and I apologize for butchering the Scottish accent.
That was actually pretty good, I thought.
It was all right. It's good.
But I just love that piece. And my wife who is absolutely just amazing and has been such a, oh my gosh, such a positive influence and help to me in just my day-to-day life. She constantly says, like, don't talk bad about yourself. Like, don't talk negative. And like one of the first chapters, and I take some notes, and I guess I can kind of try to piece through them a little bit, but it's the, positive self-talk, whereas your perception is your reality, and that's something that we talk about all the time, is your perception is your reality. It's like when you look at these people that support certain political figures, and you're like, how can this person support that? Well, that's their perception, and that then becomes their reality. So you can't argue logically with this person because they're not using logic. What they perceive is their reality. So when you sit there and you drop something, like whatever, like you drop a bottle cap or you do something and you're like, oh my God, I'm so clumsy. No, you're not. Like, you're not clumsy. You just dropped the bottle. Like, you changing that perception. It's like retraining your brain one word at a time. Don't say I'm so stupid. And it happens all the time. And 95% of the conversations that you have every day are conversations you have with yourself. And so 95% of your conversations, you're telling yourself you're stupid, you're worthless, you're not. And you may not be saying, I'm stupid.
You can't do this.
You can't do this. Oh,
who do you think you are?
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, this job is so hard. Oh my gosh,
You are so unprepared to do this. Like, you are not qualified for this at all. I say that every day. I spend so much of my day saying that to myself.
So it's just that, that this is just something where it brings it up.
I'm not living Unfuck Yourself, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to apply, but I'm encouraged by what I experienced over the last year and some other, where I got to the point in therapy where, like, the reason I was there, I was like, I think, like, I'm feeling okay. Like, I feel like now, because the whole idea is like with that, or what I was experiencing, like, you create new neural pathways. You see different ways forward, and you can kind of retrain your brain or behavior, if nothing else, over time. And that was encouraging to me. And I think that's why some of this really resonated with me as possibilities, but I haven't been able to integrate it very well yet. And I feel like talking to you, Double D, like when you said the thing about like how you doing, a lot of times on the show when we talk to you, you're like, love and life, and I'm like, how? And then reading this book, it's a lot of it is just like part of it is you just decide to say that. And so part of me wonders, like, is that you pre this book or post this book, or like, I don't know. I just feel like you seem to embody a lot of these practices. And so I'm wondering if you have consciously done that through this, or if it's just helped you kind of remember to do those things that you might be naturally inclined towards.
Probably the latter. But it's like the idea, fake it till you make it. That there's a lot that goes into that. And, when people that you talk to that are positive and that have a tendency to be upbeat, for some reason, like, quite often you find yourself drawn to those types of people compared to the people that are just like, wah, wah, like just this constant, buzzkill or downer, where they're like, all they do is tell you about all the problems that they have. And that's not to say,
why do I have friends? How do I have friends?
Because Dave and I are good people.
That's truth.
But that's what's sort of
truth.
interesting to me too, Palmer, though, is that I prior to this podcast, I don't think I realized as your friend that you struggled as much as you might with some of these things, because outwardly you projected so much confidence and ease with yourself. Confidence maybe is not the right word, but like I don't know why, but I think about it like that, yes, I think that's my biggest is so strength. Appealing. Like,
I know who I am, and I don't care what you think about that, because all I'm doing is satisfying me. It's a very Ash called me, and we were in a fight a couple weeks ago, and she called me a narcissist. And all I could think of was Tony Stark, and I'm like, I'm not Tony Stark. And but then but I am kind of Tony Stark a little bit. Yeah.
That's ways of that though. Like it's people that are self-possessed might be a better word. So sometimes that perhaps can veer toward too much towards one thing. But people who are self-possessed, if you think of like a Jack Nicholson or something like that, like
yeah, like he got like, man, I see him as the ultimate Palmer. Like he gets paid to be him all the time. If he's in a movie, if he's just like on the red carpet, he gets paid. He's known for being himself. Jack Nicholson's like that. There's a slew of actors that are like that.
And I think a lot of people can be that way. Like when I was active in music, a lot of what I was trying to learn how to do was like be on stage and be comfortable. Because if I was comfortable on stage, then the audience would be comfortable. And it was like this whole kind of system that's created. I just saw Booksmart last night, which is a R-rated comedy about two teenage girls. It's like a sort of a modern female Superbad, you know?
Yeah.
But the two leads are intoxicating, and they're not traditional sort of movie leads, young women, but they are so self-possessed and support each other to such an extent that you're drawn in. They're the heroes because they see themselves in each other that way.
Yeah.
So I think, in good friendships, it can be like that, but and that can play into the highlight reel though. Like you see other people and like how, like I'm projecting that on you, Double D, and you, Palmer, like these moments when you are self-possessed, and I feel like, oh, that's so great. I wish I could, feel that way or be that way.
And what's funny is like you find that endearing in me, and those are sometimes the moments that I beat myself up over and over and over again and carry with me and like find the hardest to let go are those moments that where I'm just like, man, you were just a self-serving pompous asshole. And then like people are like, oh man, it's so cool when you did that. And I'm like, man. And then I'm at home just like rocking in a chair like, man, you got to get this shit under control because you're going to die lonely if you don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's so conflicting sometimes. Because I'm beating myself up over it. And then people are like, oh no, that's like, I don't see myself as confident at all. I see myself as very like apathetic. Like I just like, yeah, this is just who I am. And I have zero motivation to change it.
That plays into a few things in the book though. And Double D, I know it's hard to find, and you look like you want to say something now. So let me let you say that before I
continue, because I'm sure I'll just piggyback on you.
But feel like raise your hand, whatever you got to do, because I want to hear from you. But so one of those things. I don't know. I'll read these 7 personal assertions just in case they spark something. I think it's this one actually, Palmer, that I was thinking about. I am willing. So it's this idea of what you're willing to accept, and I think part of that, there's stuff in there that's like really really liberating. This idea that and part of what I'm looking for from you guys is things that I can latch onto through how I care. Like, to use Flora Cash, like that song you shared last week.
Yeah.
I don't latch on to new music very well. I need a hook. I need a reason to care, whether it's something I know about the musicians or whether it's something so you offered me a hook into that song that I eventually bought it on iTunes. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
oh man.
Feel like that has a kind of a thing about music that bugs me. But I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to be bothered by it or even hear it. But I was able to, through you, get a connection to it, and now it means something to me too. So that's probably what I want to know about, selfishly, about your experience with some of the ideas in this book. Is personalize it so that I can integrate it into my own life, because I like the ideas, but anyway.
So I have I have up a list of just like the main. So like, I am willing. I'm wired to win. I got this. I embrace the uncertainty. I'm not my thoughts. I am what I do. I'm relentless. I expect nothing and accept everything. These are all like these are the main things the book is trying to get across, right? And I Double D like really is touching on the self-talk, as he dubs it, right?
Yeah.
And in keeping this positive thing. I don't know. I if I was going to see a counselor, it would be for the skills to change that self-talk, because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to be doubtful. That doubtful thing is like how I keep searching through this stuff, you know? If I'm doubting how
He's
I do
waving.
that.
All right,
I know he's waving.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it starts right now. It starts. I mean, and that's something where, and even like, even further down or whatever, it is right now. You have to take 100% responsibility for how you act from here going forward.
So
what that is, though, but what that is you just said, I don't know how to quit the negative self-talk. Every time you say something negative, just stop. It's just that. It's a matter of
no. I get it. I get that. And that's the pieces of this book that speak to you. The ones that speak to me is like, I am what I do.
Yeah, action steps. That's one of the things.
Yeah, action steps. Like this book spoke to me at a point in my life where I realized I was getting enough satisfaction of fantasizing about things I wanted to do. I was getting the satisfaction from those so that I didn't have to do them. And then I was like, well, that's just bullshit. Like that's empty calories emotionally, you know, like that's you got to have some kind of action behind that. And just as I was coming to that epiphany is when this book finally was oh man, I'm sorry, I'm dry. Double D had already recommended this book, like, you know, years before. And then
Double D's lips. Sorry.
Just as I was coming to that epiphany is when this book came. I finally got through this book, and I am not my thoughts. I am what I do. Like that's been that has translated into a big piece of the growth that Ash and I have done in our relationship. Like it's put up or shut up. Like you can talk till you're blue in the fucking face, but until you finally do it, that doesn't mean anything, you know? So that really spoke to me. And I am relentless. Like that really got me too. Like, don't just keep fucking pushing until you're satisfied, because here's the thing. This is the trick. Only you know when you're satisfied, and the world is not going to just keep trying to satisfy you. Like it's all about path of least resistance, right? So if the world can get by on just like appeasing you, that's what it's going to do. You have to like fight for the satisfaction.
And that whole idea of like you're wired to win, like we will make things true. So if we have negative self-talk and we tell ourselves bad stories about ourselves internally, like we'll find ways to make that true. So if like you're stuck, you're like spinning your wheels, they're like, what? He's like, what are you trying to prove right about that? That what? You're not worthy, or that it doesn't matter if you try, or like those things. Those are kind of interesting. Like this idea that we're wired to win if our minds are set to it. So make sure we set our minds on something we truly want. I thought that was very fascinating.
Yeah, I think, and probably the most important piece, I think that like the other pieces kind of fall into place behind this is that first mindset of I am willing or I am not willing.
Yeah.
So, like with Palmer, if we were to ask you, you know, what are your smoking stats? You know, and whether you know have to reinstall that app to figure out that, you know, you've saved or you've not spent, what is like, how much have you not spent? How many cigarettes have you not smoked?
I haven't smoked 1,800, 201. Wait, no.
That's not 1,000. It's way more.
No shit.
Oh.
I haven't smoked 18,000 cigarettes.
18,000 cigarettes.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
since I quit smoking, I have saved
How much have you not spent on cigarettes?
$5,400, almost $5,500.
Okay, so like I guess what it comes down to is, and maybe this can help kind of I don't know, maybe you can try this. 18,000 cigarettes, that's insane. So for all of you people out there, and thankfully I've not been in that situation where I've had to quit smoking. Never took it up. But if you have, and I'm sure Palmer will relate, like take whatever steps you need to. Take the patch, the gum, the meetings, the whatever.
Read the books, like do
1,000 cigarettes you've not.
And if you failed 14 times at quitting, try the 15th time. And
So-
if that doesn't work, go to 16. Like,
So if you look back at that then, because you'd tried quitting before.
oh yeah, bunch of times.
So
You have no idea how many last cigarettes I smoked.
right?
Yeah.
What was the piece that you finally were able to tell yourself that you were willing or that you were not willing? Like, how did you quit? Because I know that the gum helps. I know that the groups help, but they're not there when it's time to pick up a cigarette, or when you're pumping gas at the gas station. Those people weren't there to keep you from going in and buying that pack of cigarettes. So what is it that you had in your mind that was saying, were you saying, I am not willing to be a 40-year-old smoker. I'm not willing to be or was it I am willing?
I think it was just like I honestly think it was like the biggest thing was I am done with this. Like I'm ready. I'm willing to be done with this. Just get it over with and let's just not do it anymore. You know.
Right.
The joy, I don't know, like the joy meter finally the scale tipped in the other direction. Like it was more fun not to.
Right. You just finally made the decision for yourself. It was that whole thing.
Yeah.
The willingness to like,
yeah.
I just don't want this anymore. I literally, like no one could decide it for you.
And
you just decided.
and all the time. And what was so funny was like that time felt different than all those other times where I was like, this is the last cigarette I smoke, you know? So I know it sounds cliche, but I don't know. You would like, there is a mindset too that I am willing. And when you are, you're like, yeah, I'm going to twist off the butts of these like 16 cigarettes. You know, I'm going to twist the butts off of the cigarettes so I can't smoke them.
Cancer merchant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And throw them away. And I'm just going to do that. And that's okay because I'm done with this, you know. And it felt, I can say, I can still picture that whole thing. It just felt different than the other times where I said this was my last cigarette.
Okay, so and the thing about, I think the thing about this book, Unfuck Yourself, is that there is no, and this is where I think what you were mentioning, this is where all self-help books fall short, is the action steps, is how do you get there? But how can this guy write to you to convince you that that was your last cigarette?
Oh no, that's totally my point. Like that's where a good, like you can't go into a self-help book looking for the solution. You go to a self-help book for affirmation.
There's a line in it too where it's like
confirmation, you know, like
it is. Oh man, I hope I can find it quickly. Shit, but it's something like you can't look for the solution. Basically, the punchline to it is you are the solution. And I have found that to be most true. Like I went to therapy before when I was going through divorce, and it did me no good because I had a terrible attitude. But it's helped me recently because it was all about me. Like I went in there not expecting. I will joke with my therapist. I'll go rattle off shit, and I'll be like, "All right, fix it." I say it every time. I'll fix it. Yeah. She just laughs because obviously that's not how it works. But I am that variable, like I am the one who can make that change in my life. And I'm the one who's taking control of those sessions to basically use her as a sounding board, as a smart person to be like, tell me, like, what are you hearing from what I'm telling you?
Right.
But in all of those, like, it really comes down to a fundamental willingness to change, I feel like. But it's hard to.
And I've always said
that's the first step, but I think there's a lot of things that can be hard about, like the negative self-talk. You can't just, like with cigarettes, it's physical. Oh shit, there's the timer.
But even with the self-talk though, with cigarettes, like I still say, I tell people who are like, oh, I wish I could quit. You won't until you're ready to. And until you're truly ready, when you're like, this is fucking stupid. Why do I do this? And then you still have a year after that of like debating it before you're going to probably be truly ready. And only you know that. And I think that that's where this book does a great job of acknowledging that. I'm not going to take you to the solution because, again, like you said, you're the solution. Like, I'm going to confirm your thoughts. I'm going to define some nebulous concepts that you might be struggling with. That's the other piece that I think self-help books really, where you're just like, how do I articulate what I'm feeling right now? And then you hear it and you're like, yes. Yeah. Like, that like satisfying, like it's like an orgasm where you're just like, yes, that is exactly what I mean. That's how I would say it. Thank you. Like I felt that a lot when I went through this book. Yeah,
I recognize a lot of that, but I think for me, I think they're even beyond that. Not all of them. They're all just kind of universal truths spun in an interesting way.
Yeah.
And I think with this one, I'm still like, I need to spend that time. There's a couple things toward the end where he's like encouraging you to kind of engage with it more. Like we are now that drew me to this, like take the time to make the time. I think he says, like, it's all like cliches, but there's only one quote out of the billions that I think would be worth reading, because I thought about it when you were both talking earlier. It seemed to kind of, it's kind of motivating. It's a little like rah-rah, but I don't know. It's a good one to go out on. So towards the end of the book, in the wrap up, he says, if you want your life to be different, you have to make it happen. All of the thinking or meditating or planning or anti-anxiety medication in the world isn't going to improve your life if you're not willing to go out and take action and make changes. Yeah. You can't sit around waiting for the right mood to strike or for life to play out the way you want it to, nor can you rely on positive thinking alone to transform things for the better. You have to go out and do. It's a very interesting. There's a lot to get into in this book that we only scratched the surface of, but there's like this whole component about training your mind and the self-talk, but also this idea of like, you're not your thoughts. You have to take action. So it's very worthwhile.
And I think in my revisiting, in my like the little bit that I was able to finally accomplish with the book, it was very, because at first I was like, man, I this book, like you, I'm like, I can't remember one fucking thing from it. And then when I finally did, I was like, man, that's where action steps came from. It was like, stop fucking talking about it and let's do it. Like, what's it going to take to do it? Let's map that out. And I feel like that came from this book, that came from this idea of it's, you can think all you want, but until you do, it's not going to mean anything,
And also that the doing will start to change your thinking. I think that's kind of where that thing comes full circle. And I have experienced a little bit of that. So
I have a quote that I actually wrote a note, like an note for when I was listening to this. Awesome. You should dip in and out of it as much as you like. Use this book up. Troll through the words for what you need to make the difference in your life until its pages are tired and weary from your appetite for change. Like,
shit, you did that without knowing you'd read it on a podcast someday?
yeah,
Great.
when I went through the audiobook, like I remember replaying that so I could get that quote exactly. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
There's
I
I've
love
seen you doing gymnastics there.
yeah, please go ahead.
I was just going to say that there's something to the affirmation of not making these life-changing decisions. Because so often when you quit on a diet, or when you quit on this new workout regime, or when you quit on the spending or the smoking or the drinking or whatever your vice is, or whatever it is that you're trying to get this self-help book through, is there's that downward spiral, right? That depression of, oh, I'm so worthless, I'm so stupid, I don't even know why I try to quit, because I always go back to it anyway. And like, I really feel like this book has an opportunity to talk to you and say, it's okay, you just weren't willing at that time. Like, you tried quitting 14 times, so be it. For 14 times you weren't ready to quit, you weren't willing to give that up, and be okay with that. Like, it's okay that you don't have six-pack abs, or like the story of, we all want to be we all want to be a millionaire or whatever, but do you really want to, instead of sitting down on the couch with the bride and watching Game of Thrones,
Right.
And are you willing to give up that time to put more time in at the office, an hour and 15 minutes away, so that you can
become a millionaire? Yeah.
To become that millionaire. No, you're not. But then that's okay. But then don't put yourself in that downward spiral of, then when you see a Ferrari or something on the road, where you're like, man, I wish I had $1 million.
It's so funny because, like, so much of these things, like, as we're talking about it, I'm like, I really embrace some of this shit. Like, I'm just, he's kissing to his beautiful wife. My date tonight is getting a little sleepy.
I've got like notes to go through. Like, I'm.
I mean, I'm game.
I have my own notes. So,
all right,
burn. No. I don't need them. I have mine. I want to know yours. You don't need mine. Hit me with yours, please.
All right, I just kind of pulled through, and I went through with the mindset of, okay, this is something like maybe worth talking about, worth discussing. Palmer read through like the list of affirmations. The chapter 2, I am willing. And man, I just think that the rest of the book is based on this, but it's, you are 100% responsible for what you do now. And that's like, so if some experience or some tragedy occurs that's out of your hands, the loss of a loved one, losing a job, shuts down, whatever the case is, car accident, you may not have had a piece of that, or you may not have been in 100% control of that, but what you are in 100% control of is what you do with that now. So be okay with that and take that on and say, okay, well, I am going to make the decision to be in charge of this. Every time you add the but, you turn yourself into the victim. Well, I'd like to do it, but just forget that. Like, it's okay that you're not willing to do it. Don't say you want to, but, well, I'd like to have six-pack abs, but man, I just can't get out of bed. I just need that 8 hours of sleep. Then go to bed at 9 o'clock so that you can get up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Or be
I
okay
like
with that. You like sleeping in instead of,
like, that's part
sleeping
of it.
in is more important than six-pack abs. Like, just acknowledge that. Like, be like, I would much rather sleep in the morning than have six-pack abs. And then you can get rid of all that, like, pressure and effort to divert to other things in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are means to find peace. I recognize that as well. Like, because I had trouble with that. Like, what do I really want? I remember the very few moments about that sort of thing, but I used to go, there was this series of concerts here in Northfield that I really wanted to play. There were like these small intimate rooms, and I was like, so when I moved here, I'm like trying to get a sense of things. I'm like going to all this stuff, but I'm going to all of it in the hopes that I can someday be a part of it, play in front of the audience instead of be a part of the audience. And at a certain point, I was like I don't know how many I went to. I was at one of them, and I was like, I hate this music. I had to leave the bride on the couch. I was just not happy at all. And I just realized, like, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is how you, and that's how it worked for me with the music thing, that I wish I had more peace about that. I feel like I should, because I made those choices very deliberately. Like, I don't want this. I don't want to do this, but I had to accept that not doing this means that. And I don't think that's what I struggle with. That's not like why I'm going to therapy or struggling as much as I am right now. It's not necessarily that, but it's just that's a thing I can quantify, because I realized those choices in the moment as I was making them. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this Facebook thing of playing this game. Like, I'm not going to do it. I don't want it. I don't care what I think it's going to get me. I don't like it. Right. And those things have repercussions, and I think you have to. So that all made a lot of sense to me. Like, this idea of willing, like that whole thing of willing too, like, and being cool with it, like being like, yeah, what you just said, the whole thing about sleep or whatever. Like, but the trick of it is, like, don't beat yourself up about that element.
Right.
That's hard sometimes, but it's liberating if you can embrace it. It doesn't have to be negative.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It doesn't have to be negative. Stay positive. Don't get down on yourself that you may have eaten an entire pizza after your podcast. So weigh it. Like, it's okay. Like,
because that's what you wanted to do. God damn it.
Right. That's right. Don't beat yourself up later then and be like, oh man, I cheated on my diet. Forget the diet. Like, you're not willing to do that at this point. Do what you're willing to do. He wrapped it up like, reaching for the stars with short arms. Like, you're not really willing to put yourself out there. I'm just gonna try to get to it. So then I'm wired to win for chapter 3 as it goes down through. Your future is not the answer to the problems in the present. I think that's,
I like that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Just that mindset of, don't
ground yourself.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Don't, it all comes back to, like, don't make it more than it needs to be. If you're willing to do something, do it for the reason that you need to.
Yeah, and you need to address now. Like, be present.
Right.
Solve those problems that are here now, so you can get to that future you want. Like that, because that future you want isn't going to fix any of the problems you have now. Like, until you do it. Like you got it backwards if you think like, oh, if I was that person, I wouldn't have these problems. No, that person solved those problems. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely. Chapter 4, the I got this. And this one is, I think that this is, and this may come back to what you were talking about before, Dave, when you're like, when I ask you, like, how are you doing? And those kinds of things. Everyone has their problems, right? And if everyone put all their problems into a big pot, most people would be content just taking their own back and leaving.
That's not in the book, but that's excellent.
Oh, that is definitely in the, like,
that's not, maybe I shouldn't seize upon it. I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah, check it out. It's the chapter 4.
Okay.
It's where it's, and I don't know if it was Epictetus or whoever.
Epictetus is a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
He's in there quite a few times. Yeah. But it's the, it's this idea of, I have problems, of course, but put it into perspective. Like, I mean, right now it's 11:50 East Coast time or whatever. I'm sitting in my home with power, with the means to do a podcast with two amazing individuals from across the state and across the multi-states. We've had
handsome, self-possessed, confident.
Yeah,
we're loving life.
Really, what is it that I'm, what really is going that bad that I'm going to be like, oh, woe is me. I I had salmon burgers and
when did America stop being great? Like, like where is this great America? Like, what's the year of marcation? Like that's when it stopped being great, right? Like,
yeah,
same thing.
So how are you doing? I am all things considered, I'm doing wonderfully. Like I don't have medical expenses. I get up and I have an amazing supportive wife.
I'm a white man. Like
I'm a white man. Yeah. How bad could that be? Everything else considered, like that's so just. And then this is also where it talks about, we only see the highlight reels of other people's lives. Well, we're constantly reminded of, oh my gosh, my wife pissed me off, or I can't believe my kids did this, or oh my gosh, I backed into the trash can on my. If only my wife would have brought that in. Yeah, I know.
Fucking dog would go around the block,
or take a dump, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
you're late, for goodness sakes. So, I don't know. I just think that keeping that positivity and reaffirming that to yourself, it's just really important. Embracing on the uncertainty. This was something that, and this is something where when I actually used the book last year, I was struggling quite a bit, and I was trying to figure out the best way to handle a situation with work. And it's the Teddy Roosevelt quote, which I thought is spectacular. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. And I had to go way out of my comfort zone. And I reached out to some people. I made some phone calls to some people that, man, I don't know that I would have done just on my own. My wife was exceptionally supportive and helped me gain that confidence in the uncertain of what could potentially happen. And I'm sure as a result of that, that's kind of what led me to this big promotion.
Really?
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think that was incredible. And along with like what Palmer said about, that both Dave and I had mentioned that, we find so attractive or so appealing is in the same chapter, it talks about abandon the notion that other people's opinions matter.
Yeah.
Be willing to be judged by others. So many times it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to put myself out there. I always relate a story like when I was in high school, my junior year, my freshman, my sophomore year were awful, like just miserable. I felt like I was, as everybody, I would assume most teens do, just kind of feel outside, or you're struggling with who you are. And then I would go to all the after game dances, but I would just stand there because I couldn't dance. And then by the time I realized, like as a junior and a senior, I was like, nobody knows how to dance. We all dance like, like Elaine, like,
yeah.
Awesome.
So, but she's the one that's having fun out there. So if other people have a problem with that, that's other people's problems. It's not my problem anymore. And so I just was so
my jokes are for me. I make my jokes to make me laugh. If anybody else laughs beyond that, it's a bonus. Yeah. Bonus.
Yep. Yeah. Be willing to be judged by others. And man, that is just, man, if I can pass nothing else onto my children, I just want to be able to pass that on. Like, don't live your life for other standards. Like, live your own life.
Yeah.
Be okay if people think you're crazy or stupid or nuts or whatever. Like, think of the people that, were looking at the Wright brothers or any number of anything. Anyways, we have to hit this one. Chapter 6 is I'm Not My Thoughts. Changing your mindset. And I wrote this down, and Dave, I hope that you did too. Changing your mindset is like turning a battleship. It takes time.
Oh my god. I don't know if I did. I was like, I don't need to write that. I know that. Oh my god. That is
Time
awesome.
to turn the ship around.
That would be one of our first t-shirts if ever we have one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And that, I don't know, just
Glorious.
have that support. If you have that support in place of somebody that can just be okay with you taking that time to turn that battleship, to turn that ship around, right? Yeah, negative self-talk, it's something that you've been doing for your whole life. And trying to get out of that. Yeah, neuroplasticity and brain research is amazing. And oh my gosh, there's tons of books I could go into about that stuff. But I just that mindset of you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna goof up, but it takes a long time to turn that ship around. It takes more than just like, oh, I'm gonna do this now and tomorrow everything's gonna be great. No, it's not tomorrow. It's 2 years from now. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be relentless. Be
Yeah.
relentless.
And you have to only,
relentless.
I think what I was getting from that too is like you only have to be focused on the very next step. You can't look to that future as your
Yeah.
motivation. It has to
Yeah.
be moment
That-
by moment. And
Let it
I have
be a
experience with
goal,
that.
I feel like, is the message. Like that's not the means to get there. That's your goal. Like that's what you're working for. So what's the next thing to get there? What's the next thing you have to do to get there?
Yep.
And
then, I mean, last, of course, be relentless, and just kind of touched on that, but then expect nothing, accept everything. And I don't know why, and I don't want to crap on millennials. I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of different ones, but
you're a millennial, by the way.
the experience that I have with, I'm not a millennial.
Oh no, you're Gen X, aren't you?
Thank you. Yeah. Don't throw me into that group.
I'm on the
I'm a millennial,
but I
so
do not seem to relate to a lot of millennial things. But nonetheless, you're going somewhere, and we can't just discount them.
yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the people the millennials that I interact with, and I don't want to stereotype. It's just the expect nothing and accept everything. I just feel like they've got accept, like to
Nothing.
to accept everything, like expect everything. Sorry, not accept nothing.
Expect everything and accept nothing. Like that's they have it reversed. Like
they have it completely
nothing is good enough because I want it all. Like
yes, exactly. I should have a job paying $40 an hour. You just graduated high school. You have no experience. You have no training. You have no education. I know, but that's I can't live on $10 an hour.
That's the message. That's the message, though. Is like we live in a world where the wages that you start out at are not enough to live on, though, and they were 10 years ago. They were 20 years ago. They're not now.
You're still living in your parents' basement.
Oh well, yeah. I mean. But still, they're living in their parents' yeah.
We can go. I mean, we can get down. I mean, we can go down that, or even so.
No, I'm saying I'm not trying to argue with you, but I get you.
The idea of expecting everything. Don't expect everything.
Yeah,
we have this conversation with our kids so many times where we're like, "Hey, pick that up," and they're like, "Well, I shouldn't have to pick that up. I picked that up for so and so yesterday. They should pick it up for me." I said, wait a minute. Don't do something because you want something in return.
Right.
Don't expect anything else. Do it because that's like they accepted that from you because you picked up their toys yesterday or you put away their clothes yesterday. They accepted that, and that's great. They can accept that from you. But then don't expect that in return. If you're doing something because you expect something in return, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Point. Yeah, you missed the point.
Because you can only control yourself. You can't control what somebody else is going to do. Oh, I know, but I stayed late. I helped you with that project. Yeah, thanks for that. I've got a ball game I'm going to tonight.
Deuces.
Yeah, I'm out. Don't be disappointed. Don't all of a sudden think like, oh, that's bull. I can't believe that guy did that to me. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, believe that. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Expect nothing, but accept everything. It's just, and that's just that mental mindset of,
Yeah.
oh, I guess I do. I mean, I set myself up for failure by thinking that so and so is going to do something just because I did something for them. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's so good because if you look at it and can just pull these ideas into your life, and just all it takes is just 2 or 3 things. Like, think of the things that you would like your wife to do that they don't do, and then think, how many times have I clearly articulated that I would like that to happen?
Right.
Well, why are you expecting it without just coming out and clearly
Just say it.
articulating?
Yeah. Communicate.
Yes, just communicate. Like, just come out and say,
Yeah.
look, you know,
I had something recently happen with the bride where we got into a substantive argument that was kind of a problem for like more than a day. Like it kind of lingered because it cut a bit deep. But she was just like, if you like, you could have just said, this hurt my feelings, instead of doing this other thing that you did, where essentially I kind of lashed out in a passive aggressive way, even though I didn't necessarily know I was even doing that.
Yeah.
And I caught myself in the moment she said that. I was like, oh, you are totally right.
Yeah.
But recognizing that and articulating that will take a sea change in my brain. And that's among the things that like why I need this book.
yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a long time to turn a ship around.
It does, yeah.
Well, and again, that comes, in my opinion, that comes back to the affirmation part. Like, good self-help books are really going to be like, see, you're not the only one thinking this way, like, and this is all common sense. And that's the message I feel like I'm getting from you too, Double D, is like, this all makes sense. Like, it's all laid out in a very logical path, and this makes sense to me. And I think that, any logical person is going to read this and be like, yeah. But I think having it written in a book that somebody got published, and maybe this is the part for like the personal part for me, like that's like, okay, well then that validates my thoughts, and so now I can move on. I can do all these things that the book talks about because it's been validated, because somebody actually was able to like make a living off of the same thoughts that I'm having,
Yeah. That's what I like about most of the art that I hold dear, is like it validates my experience in some way. It makes me feel less alone. I like a lot of like kind of or very dark art, but it has a positive effect on me. One of the nicest things I ever heard about my own music was someone a secondhand relayed comment was something like, oh, he says the same thing I think or feel. I just didn't necessarily have those words to say it. And I was like, oh man, that's great. Like that's all I want in anything really. It's just to know that I'm not alone, and to help kind of commiserate, and then kind of contextualize my own experience. And this has been very helpful in that regard, talking about this with you guys. Thank you. I will tweet out my my entire 11-page distillation of quotes from the book. I thought about reading the ones I starred today, but even that would take too long. So I'll tweet that out at LWSD on Twitter, and feel free to engage there or send us an email at LWSDpod.
And again, if any of our talk on Unfuck Yourself or any of the Dark Tower books, if you want to start the Gunslingers with the Gunslinger,
we're gonna have a side series on that soon.
Yeah, head over to audibletrial.com/LWSD and sign up for a free Audible trial, and you can download the I highly recommend the audio version of Unfuck Yourself, just because it's read by the author. I like any audiobook that's read by an author, because you're going to hear it in the voice they wrote it with in their head.
And he's Scottish.
And he's Scottish. He's got and it's the kind of Scottish you can understand. It's not like
it's not that Scottish. Right.
It's the Scottish. It's the legible Scottish, I should say. So yeah, it would be a good audiobook. And like Double D said, it's only like 3.5. It's like 3.5 hours long. You can get through it in a good project. That's how I got through it. I was down in the wood shop and got through it in one day in the wood shop.
Yeah. I will, and I do certainly agree with you, Palmer, in regards to action steps and how they're. I mean, there's really not a whole lot in the way of action steps. Throughout the book. If you're looking for another self-help book that has some action steps of you actually, not like journaling per se, but actually doing some work outside of just listening. It's a book that I found very enjoyable. I Hope I Screw This Up by Kyle Cease. He was a comedian. I don't know. I found it highly enjoyable. It's a fun read.
I have a workbook that I need to start. I decided recently I need to finally sit down and start that. But it's all about action as you go through it. It's a self-help book of action.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the biggest the biggest thing is and one of the chapters of Unfuck Yourself was the uncertainty. We
gotta go. We gotta wrap this up.
No, I know. My beautiful bride but she just sent me a text.
Can you forward the text she just sent you? I want
it wasn't that dirt. No, it was just it was a comment, and it said it helped me quit my job. That book that I mentioned with Kyle Cease, the I Hope I Screw This Up.
Oh yeah.
It helped me quit my job. And
can you have her text you dirty stuff so you can forward it to me?
I can try, but as she didn't the last time that I was with you.
Here, let me text. I'll text her.
All right, you probably could. She said I'd bring you the book, but I'm naked in bed. You can bring it anyway, babe. I'll turn off the webcam.
Your bride sounds like mine, where it's like when you're on this podcast, they couldn't be more interested all of a sudden.
I know.
And they're like, why are you not with me? Like, I'm with you all the time.
Oh my gosh. This book is great though. There's a couple of activities in that I Hope I Screw This Up book. I know we're supposed to be talking about the other one. But this I Hope I Screw This Up, we had like our kids do it. And some action steps, some actual things that we had them like, hey, write this down, because like even like our kids, because they're kids and because the Nintendo Switch is so engaging and Fortnite and everything else, like we try to talk to them and say like, yeah, you can be a level 94 Fortnite player, or you can be a level 62 on Heyday or something. Or you could learn to code. Or you could, with apps like Duolingo, you could learn another language. Think of the time that you're spending on these mindless, time-wasting games or things that everything you do and every decision you make, you're saying this is more important than something else. So anytime that you spend creating a crow documentary, or anytime that you spend reading the Gunslinger book 3 for the 17th time and in a row, you're saying this is more important than everything else that I could be doing. And when you think of your life as that, it really kind of gives you that I am willing and what you are not willing to do. And I think that's kind of, being able to sit down and articulate that, like this podcast I think it's a wonderful time. Like I have a wonderful time being a part of it. Is she sending you pictures, Palmer?
I wish.
Oh,
no.
I just like, I'll light up there for a second.
No.
I'm like, I'm going to start, if she's sending you pictures, you better start sending them to me too.
She says you have the best ones. So you should forward them to me. Oh, he froze.
He's speechless. He's like,
He's
I
just
gotta
like,
go.
ah!
I gotta go.
I gotta go. Shit.
Oh no, he did freeze. Oh, he's back. I was hoping
He's
he went
coming
to
back.
We were
Sorry,
just signing off. We were hoping like you went to the bedroom.
yeah. Well, I just
Yeah.
got a picture that's encouraging me too. So
Oh!
when the connection went down, I thought, all right.
and forward to Palmer. And Palmer.
There is a specific. You can't show that text.
Oh! Wow.
So,
Shit.
No wonder
I'll
he
send it
always
to you guys
answers
later.
like, "I'm loving life."
Yeah.
Look at this text.
Um,
All right.
Oh
Any
my God.
final words on fuck yourself or anything in general, my good friend?
Oh my gosh, it was no, it was an absolute pleasure. I appreciate being invited on, and I know it's an open invitation, but I like it's nice having something to come on. Know I can contribute, or at least bring up something that maybe somebody else can contribute to.
And I am so glad that you came on, if anything, just because this might finally lead to a Dark Tower, something on record with Dark Tower.
I think it will.
With
I'm very motivated. I'm very aroused.
we gotta try to get Stan the Man in on this too.
I like that too. That'd be fun.
Just because he went through it too, and I'll talk to my couple other friends that I got to read the series and see if they might want to come on at some point. It's in some way, just to talk about their take with the series. Yeah.
Good deal. Well, Palmer, give us our signing off spiel, if you will.
Yeah. So make sure that you head over to the thing. First off, Double D, thank you so much for coming on. You don't have to.
Oh my
like
gosh.
you absolutely do not have to thank us for like inviting you on, because like you said, it is an open invitation because you are a cast member of the show. You can come on this you could pop in for 10 minutes on the next time we record if you wanted to. Like, even if that's all you had, if you just popped on and you're like, I'm about to go have sex with my wife. F you all. Action steps. Signing off. That would be okay. You'd be allowed to do that, you know?
Action steps. I'm about to take some action steps.
Yeah, like I'm gonna show you action. So first off, thank you for coming on, because I think this was a great conversation, and I'm grateful. If anything, it's going to motivate me to, when that reserve finally does come in, I will listen to the book again, just to use up those pages. I love that quote of using up the pages. And what's there. So thanks for coming on. If you're listening to this, do us a favor, head over to our YouTube page. Like we said, we're at 91 subscribers right now. We're trying to get to that 100 mark to get our unique URL. So head over to our YouTube page and search Long Walk Short Drink. Subscribe there, ring the bell. If all of our podcasts are recorded on YouTube via a live broadcast, and then Dave takes and trims those down into a nice, neat, adds a little bit, and puts them out as our audio version podcasts, which you can get on any of your favorite streaming services like Stitcher, Apple iTunes, podcast, any of those. If you want, feel free to send us an email at lwsdpod@gmail.com. You can get it read on the air like John's did. Is it John? Is that right?
Yeah.
John did on the air. Thanks for reaching out to us on that, and for subscribing, of course. Follow us at LWSD Pod on Twitter, where you'll get notified of all of the stuff we're talking about. Plus, we like to tease out throughout the weeks in between our recording and our episodes coming out. We like to tease out the stuff that's in the episode. So if we reference a movie, we might tweet out the trailer. If we reference a book, we might tweet out a link to where you can buy that book. If we talk about a song, we might tweet out the video, etc. So follow us on Twitter at LWSDpod. And last but not least, if you want to get started on the Dark Tower series, if you want to listen to If you want to devote the 3.5 hours to listen to the author read Unfuck Yourself, if you want to listen to Christine or Cycle of the Werewolf, I think is even on there. Head over to audibletrial.com/LWSD and sign up for your free Audible trial where you can get your free audiobook on us. That would be great. Other than that, I think that's it. Double D, thanks so much for coming on. Dave, thanks so much for pushing through and calling me to wake my ass up. I apologize to both of you so much for falling. That's so fucking unprofessional. That's more unprofessional than drinking on the air.
Well, we did that too.
Was that fucking?
Oh, back in the WCTV days, Ken Buck probably said that.
Yeah, he said that. He's like, it's so
unprofessional.
He was a child, he's not a child now, so I can call him.
That's right. Thanks for this opportunity to talk through the book, and cheers, long walkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great evening, Double D. Go have a good time, buddy. Enjoy.
Yeah, and on my drive into work tomorrow, I'll probably start Dark Tower series
all over again.
Oh shit! Oh man, yeah, I got to keep plugging through book 2. So awesome. All right, love you guys. Have a great evening.
You too.
All right, love you guys.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon.